չես հիշում, բանում խայտարակվեցի Գլաձորում։
Ես կալում ես դնես, նորմալ է։
Հա։ Մատ մեզ տիրանը անմահացնի։
Որ ֆայլի կանի։
Վայ մեծ, ես իրան աչկով արեցի։
Հա, ինքը տենց հասկանում, հա։ Ինչ անում ա։ Չկա։ Նորմալ չի։
Հա, դες նորմալ է։ Մեծարգո պարոն վարչապետ, հարգելի հյուրեր, սիրով ողջունում եմ բոլորիդ, սիրելի ուսանողներ, հարգելի գոլեգաներ, այսօր մենք շատ նշանակալի իրադարձություն ունենք համալսարանում, Boris Mints-ի ստրատեգիական լուծումներ քաղաքակրթական թեմաների շուրջ ինստիտուտի հետ համատեղ մենք բացումն ենք իրականացնում միջազգային կոնֆերանսի, որի ընթացքում քննարկելու ենք եւ ներկայացնելու ենք Հայաստանի անցած ուղին, այն դասերը, որոնք կարելի է եւ պետք է քաղել մեր պատմությունից, մեր տնտեսական եւ քաղաքական բարեփոխումների ընթացքի վերաբերյալ մեր դիտարկումները, նաև այն հարցադրումը, թե ինչով մենք կարող ենք այսօր օգտակար լինել աշխարհին, որը մեծամասամբ գտնվում է այս վերափոխման գործընթացի մեջ։ Եվ ես ուրախ եմ, որ հարգարժան հյուրերը եւ դոկտոր Մինցը իր կազմով ինստիտուտի հոգաբարձուների խորհրդի կազմով, որին ես նույնպես պատիվ ունեմ անդամակցելու, մասնակցում է այսօր մեր կոնֆերանսին։ Շատ ուրախ եմ, որ նաև կան մեծաթիվ հյուրեր եւ հանրապետությունից եւ հանրապետությունից դուրս։ Կարծում եմ, որ մենք կկարողանանք իրականացնել շատ արդյունավետ քննարկումներ մեր անցյալի, ներկայի եւ ապագայի վերաբերյալ։ Եվ շատ կարևոր է, որ կկարողանանք նաև աշխարհին օգտակար լինել մեր վերափոխումների պատմության ուսումնասիրություններով։ Շնորհակալություն եմ հայտնում ներկաներին եւ հաջողություն մաղթում կոնֆերանսին։ Իսկ այժմ Հանրապետության նախագահի ողջույնի ուղերձը ընթերցելու համար մեմ եմ հրավիրում նախագահի օգնական Հայ-Ռուսական համալսարանի շրջանառար Հովհաննես Նիկողոսյանին։ Խնդրեմ։
Հայաստանի Հանրապետության նախագահի ուղերձը Boris Mints Ինստիտուտի եւ Հայ-Ռուսական համալսարանի կազմակերպած նստաշրջանի առթիվ։ Boris Mints Ինստիտուտի խորհրդի հարգելի անդամներ, Հայ-Ռուսական համալսարանի գիտական խորհրդի հարգելի անդամներ, սիրելի դասախոսներ եւ ուսանողներ։ Ողջունում եմ փոքր անցումային տնտեսություններ, տեղային պատասխաններ համընդհանուր մարտահրավերներին թեմայով Boris Mints Ինստիտուտի եւ Հայ-Ռուսական համալսարանի կազմակերպած հայաստանյան նստաշրջանի անցկացումը։ Կարևոր եւ արդիական եմ համարում այս միջոցառումը Հայ-Ռուսական համալսարանում, որն այս տարի տոնում է հիմնադրման 20-ամյակը եւ տարիների ձեռքբերումներով հաստատուն տեղ է գրավել մեր երկրի գիտակրթական կյանքում։ Անկախության տարիների փորձով Հայաստանը անկասկած հետաքրքրություն է ներկայացնում քաղաքագիտության եւ տնտեսագիտության ժամանակակից տեսաբանների համար։ Հայաստանն առաջինն էր հետխորհրդային երկրներից, որ իրականացրեց գյուղատնտեսական նշանակության հողերի սեփականաշնորհումը, էներգետիկ համակարգի վերափոխումը եւ արդիականացումը, ենթակառուցվածքների համապատասխանեցումը շուկայական տնտեսության կանոններին։ Բարդ աշխարհաքաղաքական, արտաքին եւ ներքին մարտահրավերների պայմաններում մեզ հաջողվեց ամուր հիմքերի վրա դնել ժողովրդավարական կառավարման սկզբունքները, ստեղծել քաղաքացիական հասարակության եւ ազատական տնտեսության հիմքերը։ Նշված բոլոր բնագավառներում մենք հարուստ փորձ ենք կուտակել եւ պատրաստ ենք փոխանցելու մեր ձեռքբերումներն ու դասերը։ Սահմանադրության առումով այժմ մենք գտնվում ենք նոր որակի անցումային շրջանում։ Մուտք ենք գործում առավել առաջադիմական խորհրդարանական կառավարման համակարգ, ինչը վստահ եմ կապահովի Հայաստանի Հանրապետության ժողովրդավարական անշրջելի զարգացումը։ Երկրի տնտեսությունը նույնպես կանգնած է նոր մարտահրավերների առջև։ Այժմ մենք միջազգային գործարար լայն շրջանակներին ենք ներկայացնում տնտեսության զարգացման ծրագրերի մեջ ընդգրկվելու նոր հնարավորությունները։ Հիմնվելով առաջադեմ օրենսդրության եւ միջազգային ամենաարդյունավետ փորձի վրա, լիահույս ենք, որ կկարողանանք ստեղծել օտարերկրյա ներդրողների համար անհրաժեշտ գործիքակազմ, վստահելի տնտեսական համակարգ եւ արտահանման հնարավորություններ։ Անցումային փուլի հաղթահարմանն առնչվող այս հարցերի եւ Հայաստանի դասերի ու հնարավորությունների քննարկմամբ հուսով եմ, դուք ապագայում հանդես կգաք նոր եւ շահավետ լուծումներով ու մոտեցումներով, որոնք շահեկան կլինեն ինչպես Հայաստանի, այնպես էլ նույն խնդիրներին բախվող այլ երկրների համար։ Նստաշրջանի աշխատանքներին մաղթում եմ արդյունավետ ընթացք եւ օգտակար քննարկումներ։ Հարգանքներով, Սերժ Սարգսյան։
Բարև ձեզ հարգելի գործընկերներ, չափազանց ուրախ եմ ձեզ հանդիպելու եւ չափազանց ուրախ եմ, որ հանդիպել ենք այս առիթով։ Ուզում եմ ես էլ ողջունեմ Երևանի հայ-ռուսական համալսարանի եւ Թել Ավիվի Boris Mints Institute-ի անցումային շրջանում գտնվող տնտեսությունների զարգացման հիմնահարցերին նվիրված համատեղ ֆորումի մասնակիցներին։ Համոզված եմ, որ նմանատիպ քննարկումներ, մտքեր եւ փորձի փոխանակումը չափազանց կարեւոր է, որի արդյունքում կարող են գալ լուծումներ, որոնք օգտակար են լինում թե ակադեմիական աշխարհին եւ թե կառավարություններին, իրենց ռեֆորմերի ձևակերպման, իրականացման գործընթացում։ Մենք պետք է ֆիքսենք, որ ապրում ենք չափազանց հետաքրքիր ժամանակաշրջանում։ Դասական տեսություններն ու մոտեցումները կարծես երբեմն չեն տալիս լուծումներ մեր առջև կանգնած խնդիրներին։ Այդ տեսությունների ադապտացիան իրականության մեջ միշտ չէ, որ տալիս է այն արդյունքները, որոնք որ այդ տեսությունները խոստանում են կամ կանխատեսում են։ Հենց որ անցնում ես պրակտիկ աշխատանքի, թե խոշոր ընկերությունում, թե կառավարությունում, հաճախակի բախվում ես իրականությանը եւ իրական միջավայրի, որտեղ կան գործոններ, որոնց արկայության դեպքում տեսությամբ առաջարկվող վիրտուալ մոդելները ակտուալ չեն։ Այդպիսի գործոնները շատ կարող են լինել աշխարհակարգական դիրքը, քաղաքական վիճակը, հասարակության վստահության մակարդակը, տնտեսության փակ կամ իզոլացված լինելը եւ այլն։ Սրան ավելանում է մեկ այլ մարտահրավեր։ Մենք ապրում ենք մի ժամանակաշրջանում, երբ տեխնոլոգիաները ներթափանցում են մեր կյանքի գրեթե բոլոր ոլորտներ, որը սովորաբար կոչում ենք 4-րդ ինդուստրիայով մեծ տվյալների մասին։ Այսօր խոսում ենք արհեստական բանականությամբ կառավարվող վերտիկալ այգիների, առողջապահության ոլորտում եռաչափ տպագրության, մեծ տվյալների օգտագործմամբ նոր լուծումներ մշակելու մասին։ Մեծ տվյալների եւ արհեստական բանականության լուծումների շնորհիվ Google պլատֆորմը հնարավորություն է տալիս ավելի արագ իմանալ որոշ հիվանդությունների տարածման մասին, քան տալիս են դասական տեխնոլոգիաները։ Այսօր կա մի նվագախումբ, որի բոլոր գործիքները պատրաստված են եռաչափ տպիչների միջոցով։ Ես իրականում չգիտեմ իրենք լավ են նվագում թե չէ, բայց փաստը տպավորիչ է։ Այս երևույթները բնականաբար մարտահրավեր են նաև մեր կրթական համակարգի համար։ 50-ականներին լավագույն բարձրագույն կրթությունը դասական կրթությունն էր, որտեղ շեշտը դրվում էր տարբեր տեսությունների մանրամասն ուսումնասիրության վրա։ 80-ականների վերջից կրթությունը ենթարկվեց տրանսֆորմացիա եւ ավելի շատ շեշտը դրվեց կոնկրետ խորացված մասնագիտացման վրա։ Այժմ մենք գտնվում ենք այլ իրականության մեջ։ Այսօր ակտուալ է միջսեկտորային կրթությունը, լրագրություն եւ թվային տեխնոլոգիաներ, իրավաբանություն եւ բիզնես, կենսաբանություն եւ ՏՏ տեխնոլոգիաներ եւ այլն։ Այսօր գիտելիքները մատուցվում են ոչ միայն դասական տեսությունների ուսումնասիրելով, այլ նաեւ case study-ների միջոցով։ Այսօր ֆունդամենտալ գիտություններից մենք շատ դեպքերում գնում ենք դեպի այնպիսի գիտական աշխատանքներ, որոնք հնարավոր է կոմերցիալիզացնել։ Սա մեզ բերում է մի իրականության, որտեղ լուծումներ փնտրելիս պետք է լինել առավելագույնս ճկուն եւ նորարար։ Պետք է մշտապես մտածել, թե ինչպես թերությունները կամ բացերը կարելի է դարձնել մեր առավելությունը։ Պետք է գիտակցել այն սահմանափակումները, որ մենք ունենք, մեզ մղելու են ավելի խելոք վարվելու եւ ավելի նորարար լուծումներ գտնելու։ Հենց այդ հանգամանքները եւ իրականությունը հաշվի առնելով մենք մշակել ենք մեր կառավարության ծրագիրը, մշակում ենք մեր Հայաստանի զարգացման ռազմավարությունը, Հայաստանի թվային օրակարգը, ինչպես նաեւ այլ քաղաքականությունները։ Հենց այս հանգամանքներն ու իրականությունը հաշվի առնելով մենք կառուցելու ենք անկախ, արդար, անվտանգ եւ խելացի Հայաստան։ Մենք մտածում ենք, որ Հայաստանը ունենալով հարաբերական փոքր տնտեսություն, ներդրողների համար կարող է լավագույն հարթակ դառնալ Եվրասիական տնտեսական միություն մտնելու համար, որտեղ մենք հանդիսանում ենք այդ կլուբի անդամը։ Սահմանին ստեղծելով ազատ տնտեսական գոտի մեր հարևան Իրանի շուկաներ մտնելու համար, ունենալով GSP+ ռեժիմ Եվրոմիություն մտնելու համար։ Ավելին, Եվրամիության հետ նոյեմբերին համաձայնագիրը ստորագրելուց հետո Հայաստանը կլինի միակ երկիրը, որը առևտրի հատուկ ռեժիմ կունենա եւ Եվրամիության, եւ Եվրասիական տնտեսական միության հետ։ Կարծում եմ, որ սա կարող է շատ հետաքրքրական առավելություն լինել մեզ համար, որպեսզի մենք ներգրավենք ներդրողներ։ Մենք մտածում ենք, որ Սփյուռքի հետ մեր հարաբերությունները եւ Սփյուռքի մասնակցությունը իրենց պատմական հայրենիքի կյանքում դեռ ամբողջությամբ չի օգտագործվել։ Ուզում ենք, որպեսզի Հայաստանը դառնա պլատֆորմ մեր սփյուռքահայերի համար ստեղծագործելու, արարելու, ներդրումներ կատարելու համար։ Մենք էական շեշտ ենք դնելու պետական կառավարման համակարգի եւ տնտեսության թվայնացման վրա, որը հնարավորություն կտա մեր պետական ապարատը եւ մեր տնտեսությունը դարձնել ավելի արդյունավետ, մրցունակ եւ թափանցիկ։ Իրականում մեր առավելությունը մեր փոքրությունն է, որը մեզ տալիս է փոփոխություններին արագ արձագանքելու եւ արդյունավետ լինելու, շատ արագ փոխվելու։ Կարծում եմ, որ այսօրվա հարթակը չափազանց հարմար հարթակ է այս հարցերը քննարկելու համար։ Մենք շատ մեծ ուշադրություն ենք դարձնելու նմանատիպ պլատֆորմերին։ Ավելին, մենք որոշել ենք եւ այսօր ես ուզում եմ դա հայտարարեմ, որ 2018 թվականից սկսած մենք մտածում ենք կազմակերպել ռեգուլյար մեծ տնտեսական եւ ներդրումային ֆորումներ Հայաստանում, որտեղ կխոսենք այն բոլոր խնդիրների մասին եւ այն բոլոր հեռանկարների մասին, որոնք որ մենք տեսնում ենք մեր երկրում։ Ուզում եմ եւս մեկ անգամ ողջունեմ, հատուկ ողջունեմ արտասահմանից եկած հյուրերին եւ շատ հատուկ ողջունեմ մեր երիտասարդ գործընկերներին։ Չափազանց հետաքրքիր ժամանակաշրջանում ենք ապրում։ Չափազանց ֆանտաստիկ մեծ հնարավորություններ ունեք։ Այսօր աշխարհ փոխելը, երկիր փոխելը, կարծում եմ, որ շատ հետաքրքիր մարտահրավեր է։ Միշտ գիտակցեք, որ դուք ապրում եք ամենահեռանկարային երկրում։ Եվ ես ձեզ հաջողություն եմ ցանկանում եմ լինեք համարձակ, որևէ հեղինակությունից մի վախեցեք, ձեր կարծիքը միշտ հայտնեք, ամեն առավոտ զարթնելուց ուրախացեք, որ այսօրը կարող եք մի բան փոխել։ Բոլորիդ լավ տրամադրություն։
Հայաստանի Հանրապետության վարչապետի որոշում։ Հայաստանի Հանրապետության վարչապետի հուշամեդալով պարգևատրելու մասին։ Հիմք ընդունելով Հայաստանի Հանրապետության վարչապետի 2001 թվականի դեկտեմբերի 10-ի համար 861 որոշումը։ Կրթության, գիտության եւ մանկավարժության բնագավառներում ներդրած նշանակալի ավանդի համար, ինչպես նաեւ հայ-ռուսական համալսարանի հիմնադրամ 21-ի կապակցությամբ հետեւյալ անձանց պարգևատրել Հայաստանի Հանրապետության վարչապետի հուշամեդալով։ Հայ-ռուսական համալսարանի կառավարման, բիզնեսի եւ զբոսաշրջության ամբիոնի վարիչ, տնտեսական գիտությունների դոկտոր պրոֆեսոր Արզիկ Սուվարյանին։ Հայ ռուսական համալսարանի ընդհանուր ֆիզիկայի եւ քվանտային նանոկառուցվածքների ամբիոնի վարիչ, ֆիզիկա-մաթեմատիկական գիտությունների դոկտոր պրոֆեսոր Հայկ Սարգսյանին։ Հայ ռուսական համալսարանի ռեկտորի աշխատակազմի ղեկավար Էմա Եղեզարյանին։ Հայաստանի Հանրապետության վարչապետ Կարեն Կարապետյան։
Ես իհարկե շատ ցավում եմ, որ ստիպված եմ լինելու լքել, որտեղ չափազանց հետաքրքիր է եւ չեք պատկերացնում, ինչ բարի նախանձով եմ բոլորիդ նայում, որոնք հնարավորություն ունեն այսօրվա քննարկումներին մասնակցելու եւ մի բան էլ մոռացա, ինչին պետք է ուրախանալ։ Ինձ թվում է ռեգուլյար պետք է գտնել պատճառը, ինչի եք ուրախանում, չտեսնված համալսարանում եք սովորում։ Ֆանտաստիկ պայմաններով։ Լավ տրամադրություն, ստեղծում։
Շնորհակալություն, պարոն վարչապետ. I'll invite Director of the Institute of Boris Mints, Dr. Professor Itai Senet, to continue our session, please.
Thank you very much for this wonderful reception. Thank you, President. We will now proceed with lectures, and I would like to invite Karen Karapetyan, the Prime Minister, to talk to us. Please. Oh, sorry. So the next is, the next is Amanda Binyan, who will talk to us about building of a new independent state.
The slides are there, so just install the slides.
Amen, of course, is escorting the Prime Minister, so we will return to our meeting immediately. Thank you. As we are awaiting Amen to return, let me tell you a little bit about what we have come here to do. It has been quite well known to all those who watch the events, international events, local events, at the state and international level. it has become quite well known and apparent that we are facing challenges that we need to come up with new solutions to deal with. The Boris Mints Institute for Strategic Solutions to Global Challenges is here to do exactly that. We're trying to come to the places where these things are actually happening, to observe them firsthand, to have open discussions with those who face those challenges. Academia, and this is a wonderful university that you are working in and studying in. Academia has stayed too far away from the real challenges that we need to face. It is our goal as an institute, an international institute, to go and reconnect, find those ways by which academic knowledge can meet the knowledge of practitioners, those who actually face those challenges, and in a face-to-face, open discussion, figure out what the challenges really are. Academicians oftentimes miss the point. They see the challenges where they are not, and they do not see the challenges where they actually are. So in these open conversations, in these debates that we undertake, in those places where things really happen, that's the way to connect the academic knowledge and the needs on the ground of those who are engaged in working those things through, to make sure that we are coming with useful ways to deal with those challenges. In particular, here in this region, we have several countries, wonderful countries, coming out of a period, facing a new period, looking at new ways to deal with many, many different difficulties. How do we approach these difficulties? What exactly are those difficulties? And how do we make or give a much better opportunity, especially for the young, for you, for the students here, so that you can grow into a much better environment, economically, politically, socially, prosperity. It is not out of reach. It is feasible, it is achievable, but we haven't spent enough time thinking exactly how to do this, and this is what we are here to do, to think very carefully, looking at the reality as it is, not through the books and historic writings of those who have written those observations so many years ago, not through the numbers and the regressions analysis, but through the actual facts that we all face in trying to deal with these challenges and come up with solutions that work. Talk to each other. We have five former prime ministers in our group here to talk about these challenges. They have faced these challenges themselves. They have seen them happening. We have the Honorable President, former President of the Czech Republic, and we have some of the leading academicians that sit with us and try to figure out what would be the structures, what would be the ways to face the challenges of the future. Amanda Binyan, please, thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Sennett. First of all, I would like to once more to greet the Boris Mints Institute of Strategic Solutions to Global Challenges and say many words of sincere thanks for their presence here in Yerevan and for the decision of having this session on small transition economies and their impact over the development of the schemes of transformation, to consider the ways which have been focused on the developing of strategies in two countries, in Georgia and in Armenia. And we had a very interesting session in Georgia. Now we came to Armenia to continue discussions, talkings on the ways of development and to estimate what has been done, in what stage we are staying now, and how we can proceed. What is the most efficient way of proceeding? My presentation is underlined as a building of a new independent state as a response to the crash of the USSR. 27 years of independence, of building of a new state, building of a new institutional structure of the state, the society, was and is a very interesting one. And we are still building, we are still in a process. We did not finish. During our session, we would have a pleasure to listen presentations on particular stages of our development these years, starting with the beginning, continuing with economic, political reforms, regional aspects, and the future. How we see the future, how we think to construct the future. I will concentrate on the main principles and values which we have been focused on since starting the independence. So there are two well-known ways to go to independence, two paths to independence. The first is the crash of an empire, and the second is national move to liberty and independence. And as a matter of fact, after crashing the USSR, different republics, different states, faced with different challenges. The most of them faced with the independence as a result of a crash of an empire. Armenian case is a different one, because our movement, our national movement in Nagorno-Karabakh, brought a new understanding to an independence, brought a feeling of a fight for independence, struggle for independence, national struggle for independence, national movement to liberty, and this means a crucial difference from the experiences of states which faced with independence as a result of a crash of an empire. And we see that the movement towards independence and liberty has started far beyond the crash of the USSR. Armenians in Nagorno-Karabakh started their movement in 1989, and the crash of the USSR was fixed in 1991. As you see the map of the region, you can see that the nations are divided. Armenians are divided into two. Azeris were divided into two. And this was a demonstration of the Stalin national policy to divide and to rule. To divide, not to unify nations, but to divide. Because by dividing, you can easily control the situation, rather than by giving chance to unify the nation. After crashing of the USSR, we did not have any communications, infrastructural communications with our southern neighbor, Iran. We did have some communications to Turkey, infrastructural communications, including 2 electricity lines by 200 megawatts each. That means that we could have started exporting electricity to Turkey if the political relations would have been regulated. We, of course, had lines to Georgia and to the north, because the Soviet Union was concentrated and centralized mostly by Russia, and the way to Russia was through Georgia and through Azerbaijan. By the way, the most communication lines from Armenia went through Azerbaijan to the north. As you see in this chart, the crash and legal cessation of the Soviet Union was fixed in 8th of December 91, but the declarations of independence both in Armenia and in Nagorno-Karabakh were passed much before. That means that Armenians, by their movement towards independence, towards liberty, played a substantial role in crashing of the USSR. And there are different ways and different approaches to estimate this crash, whether this is a tragedy, or this could be considered as an opportunity. Both. The answer is both, because for some of the nations within the former Soviet Union, it was considered as a tragedy. For some, it was a real chance to create independent sovereign state, to rule and to program the life for the future and to be responsible for the future. And it's very important to understand that Armenians took their independence not as a result of a crashing of an empire, but a result of the self-movement towards independence and liberty. This is very important to understand, and psychological impacts of such an approach. That means because we took independence as a result of our national movement, not as a result of crashing an empire. We created higher expectations to the results. What have we expected out of independence? The expectations are much higher than in average in other countries who have taken the independence as a result of a crash of an empire. Expectations to living standards, higher expectations as a demand for substantial achievements in short period, not readiness to wait for a long, world recognition of right word in national objectives. Of course, if you are right in your feeling and understanding of your movement to independence and liberty, you expect to be considered like this by the world. You expect a recognition by a world of your movement to independence. And of course, the living standards, which has been taken as a base, were rather high. During the Soviet system, we did have a high level of social guarantees, high standards in education, high standards in technological progress and achievements, and this was practically impossible to continue after crashing of the empire. A guaranteed high school education, high level of higher education standards, granted healthcare, which costs a lot, social security and pension system, which guarantees minimal cost of living. We did not have chances to continue like it was before. Just after taking the independence, not as granted, but as a result of our national movement to independence. So what we have as a result, we had higher expectations for living standards. We got hyperinflation of thousands of percentage. Thousands, 5,000 to 6,000% of hyperinflation in 94 and the huge inflation in 95. We had an absence of institutions, and this is also obvious because there were no institutions for ruling the independent state. There were no social institutions in place to efficiently handle the transformation. And the war in Nagorno-Karabakh, because our movement towards independence brought us not to a liberty and peace as we have expected, but brought us to a real war with thousands of victims. Expecting a world recognition of right-wording national objectives, we have been faced with absolutely parity approach by the world players and also by regional players, and the transformation of the movement over liberty to the war between Azerbaijan and Nagorno-Karabakh. As a result, we had disillusions in expectations, which brought to less enthusiasm in supporting reforms and to political instabilities. And Prime Minister Bagration, who is here and will be following me in his presentations, will, I think, confirm this statement of decreasing the national support over the reforms process. And this, of course, brought to political instabilities. What we had as a positive results for first 3 years of independence, I put it roughly in a broad picture. Yes, this was right, peace enforcement in Nagorno-Karabakh, and the enforcement was mostly because of the strength of Armenian people there. And this was the only argument for a peace, the strength of people. Reforms strategy implementation, privatization of agricultural land, which was absolutely unique experience in the world. And most of the countries after the crash of the Soviet Union have not yet achieved this result and even did not approach to that. Political democracy as a role model of political reforms. Yes, we were considered as a country, as a role model for democratic reforms, not only in this region, but throughout the former Soviet Union. Armenians and the Armenian state was considered as a leader in democratic reforms in former Soviet Union. Formation of regular army, which was absolutely substantial in a war. And this was also one of the crucial arguments in our fighting for independence in Nagorno-Karabakh. The formation of a regular army. Restart of nuclear power station, which has not been experienced anywhere else before. This was a huge achievement. I mean, up to now, we can teach the world how it could be possible to restart the nuclear power station. And again, I am referring to Prime Minister Bagration, who was a crucial role, who was playing a crucial role in that. Starting reforms in infrastructure, energy sector, communications, transportation. And again, the country which have lack of electricity, lack of natural resources, no oil, no gas, have been faced with a huge energy crisis in the beginning of 90s. And we have overcome that crisis because of reforms. Very strict and strong reforms in energy sector in particular. And we immediately achieved the result. We overcome the crisis. Nobody expected us to overcome, but we did that. And this was a great success. Some pictures to explain Armenian realities based on the historical, cultural heritage. Ancientry. Yes, 5 or even 6,000 years of existence, which is an absolute value from one hand, on the one hand, and could be a trouble on the other hand, because being ancient doesn't necessarily mean to be progressive. Being ancient could be meant being non-progressive or even regressive. The first nation of Christianity, yes, we accepted Christianity as a nation, and this was a great challenge to neighbors, to the world. This was a great responsibility of taking values, taking the ownership over Christianity, and to take a mission of sharing Christianity. And this was not an easy game. This was not an easy task. This was a great and very difficult task and very risky task. But we took that as a civilization. Distant history of state building. At the time of 1991, we did not have a generation who was in life during Armenian independence ever. And we did not have an understanding of values of independence enough because of the distant history of state building. A nation lived through genocide, and this is also a substantial factor to understand the psychological constraints in what psychological paths we have been in by the beginning of independence, by the beginning of transformation process. But this all brought to contradictions, some real contradictions which were and are stopping our movement to a better future. The contradiction between ancientry and the Eld, because ancientry could be a source of inspiration. And the good thing here is that we did not have a need to start nation building as many other states started. The nation building process was not a problem in Armenia because of the ancientry. But the ELT could be a source of regress, as I said, and this fighting between the progressive and regressive thinking is still there, and there is no sign of that the progress have won finally. This is not the case. And the contradiction between reformative thinking and conservative thinking is always there, and we are facing with that in our day-by-day practice, every day, unfortunately. The next contradiction is between global thinking and local thinking, because taking responsibility for civilizational values, it's not an easy task, and it requires a global thinking. But we here in Armenia are more rely to local thinking, because the people need to increase living standards first and think about some missions over the world. Distant history, as a result, we have an absence of institutions, higher expectations which have not been made, diaspora formation because of genocide mostly, and here we also have a contradiction between the western part of Armenians and the eastern part of Armenians, because the contradiction is real. Armenia, is it west or east? I'm sure not everybody can have the same answer on this question. Are we east or the west? And what should we do? And the real answer, and the right answer, is we are in the middle, we are in between. And we should be transforming values from east to the west and vice versa. And this is what we need to do. This is this is what we have to reconsider ourselves and to proceed with this understanding. So, as a conclusion of what has been said, the values which has been fixed in our mentality after getting an independence, liberty and independence based on a national movement, sovereignty as a base for freedom, liberal democracy as a base for political reforms, integrity is very essential component of development. There is no other ways of being developed without an integration, any kind of integration, wherever, whenever, whatever. And the dialogue about reasonability of our participation in the Eurasian Union is absolutely dialogue on nothing, because we need to be integrated, as I said, wherever, whenever, whatever. Open market economy as a sole path for development. We did not have other chance, not being reached by natural resources in terms of oil and gas. Still we have some resources in terms of metals. Unfortunately, because this is not bringing us to a progress. This is increasing our regressive thinking, because taking the metals from the ground is not, is not a wise decision, ecologically wise and future wise. We have to produce, not to take what belongs to future, and this future, hope, never will come. And the principles, very important principle of multi-vector policy. As we heard from the Prime Minister's presentation, we are not only members in Economic Eurasian Union, but we also are experiencing preferential regimes in trade with Europe, with United States, with Canada, with Norway, Switzerland. These are Japan countries which took the decision of opening the market for Armenians, for Armenian goods, and we are happy with that. And we can be a good, again, place a good partner in transforming values, in transforming commodity exchange between West and the East. As a result, we are the most European countries among those who are members of Eurasian Union, and by such we can be a bridge, a good bridge between those countries. Getting a consensus between different parts of Armenians over the world, over development strategies with a base in the Republic of Armenia. And we have yearly organized Armenia Diaspora Forums during which we are discussing the issues of national integration and unifying efforts for the Armenian growing in all aspects, political reforms, economic reforms, investments, social. And very important to understand that as a nation lived through genocide, we must become the source of peace and stability in the region, because we know the price of life and the value of life. Thank you very much. Professor Sennett, I invite you to continue. I am ready, by the way, to answer questions if there are, and I don't know how you want to proceed further. Please, Professor Itai Sennett, the director of Boris Mints Institute, please.
I would like to just engage all of you. We will take a little break here, but I have been fortunate to sit here this morning and yesterday. See very impressive presentations that professors and graduate students gave here. It is a very interesting topic, and I want to engage. I want to challenge the president of the university to continue right here and now a collaboration between the University of Tel Aviv. Tel Aviv University has a very long history of excellence in the social sciences. I've been impressed by what I've seen yesterday in the work done here in the field of social sciences. And so I'm challenging you, Mr. President, to start right here and now a collaboration between my school of social and policy studies and your group of social scientists. This group that we will form will begin right away to exchange notes, to see what we have done and what you have done, and to build specific groups of collaboration. Send off a lot of information to the undergraduate students engaged, so that we together work together to build a body of knowledge that is common to this university and to our university. Professor Dabinyan spoke so eloquently of your recent history. Israel has a very interesting recent history of its own. There are a lot of lessons that can be that can cross-fertilize our experiences. Professor Rabinovich yesterday promised to try and find some ways to bring an Israeli social scientist to spend some time here. So together with our engagement and Professor Rabinovich, we will immediately begin a collaboration. And on this happy note, we'll take a little break, followed by the discussion of the former Prime Minister. Thank you very much. Please take your seats. We live in a world of oversized international organizations. And oversized international organizations have a lot of consultants. And oftentimes these consultants come with all kind of ready-made solutions to problems they have never really studied or looked at carefully. So we work very differently. we come and we listen and we discuss. We don't really have solutions. We work them out as we discuss our issues with those that actually make the decisions and bring things to be, and know exactly where things may have worked and where things may have not worked. But there is an added value to the fact that thanks to the generosity and initiative of Dr. Mints, and we all owe a huge debt of gratitude to his initiation of this approach and this idea of having an institute that doesn't sit in some faraway place and tries to summarize some old literature and some imprecise ideas, but rather visits locations and the places and have this kind of meetings with very high-level decision makers, but also, and just as important, with young students. And in this room, it is so wonderful to see the number of students that are participating in our morning session. But the added value is also to sense the culture. Since I came here, and this is my first visit to Armenia, and I'm a little ashamed to admit it, I have noticed two common cultural things between us and you that have not necessarily been written in all the books. As when I was your age, I was actually in charge of the irrigation of the apricot orchard in my tiny little village in the middle of the Israeli desert called Negev. And since then, we have become a lot more efficient in growing apricots. But in becoming a lot more efficient growing apricots, they have kind of lost the taste, the old taste that I know, and I was actually picking them up as I was running between the rows of trees, trying to get the right amount of water to each and every tree. So coming here and going back to this real taste of apricots that I've grown up with. And then there is another thing. When I was very young, and I come from Polish origins, so Polish origins, you teach kids to drink early. It's just a tradition. And I grew up on not so good, not to say really cheap, brandy. So coming here and getting a taste of Ararat is something that I know how to appreciate. So without further ado, I would like to now invite former Prime Minister Ant Bagration, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, and as he's coming to the podium, thank you very much. I would like to tell you all that after his discussion, we will have an open discussion with all of you because we want to hear your questions and your comments. You have heard 3 discussions today by the end of this discussion, and we would really like to bring you into the discussion and listen to what you have to say and to listen to the questions you have. Prime Minister, thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. So first of all, I would like to thank Dr. Mints and Professor Darbian organizing this event. This is a good opportunity to express what you think and to talk about our present and the future. And the second issue is that yesterday I was just astonished by the presentation of our students, and I'm very happy that, so you know, look, the economic thinking is moving in the country, you know. And I would like to say that the changing time is coming. Now I will try to show you why we are going to see radical changes in the coming decade in our country. First of all, I would like to summarize what Armen did this morning about on the Armenian economic developments during last 25 years. We had a tremendous successful beginning. Tremendous success. That was number one in the former Soviet Union. By the World Bank estimation, 2006, we have been recognized the best, not among the former Soviet countries, but also among the Eastern European countries. Just the land reform, started and realized in 1991, increases up to the 85% of the coverage by food. We became food independent country. Whatever you can say. A lot of farmers are complaining. We are on the debt. It's not possible. But Armenia was not a Poland, not a Czech Republic. We didn't have a private ownership institution over the land since 1,000 years. Land used to belong to the church in this country, in the medieval. Could you imagine what we did? Or we were suffering of the electricity shortage. And government took a decision to remove Armenergo. Could you that imagine? In end of 94, Chubais was calling me saying that he used to work on that time as a head of RAOES, how you succeed payments in energy sector up to the 90%. 94. Our Minister of Energy used to work in Georgia in the cabinet, in the office of the Minister of Energy, in order to keep Georgia's energy system alive, allowing railway to work. We had that. That was a tremendous success. After tremendous success, we had a tremendous fakes, misses, and mistakes starting from 1999, 2000. So, today, we can say that, of course, we had a war. We had economic decline from 90 to 93, 53% of our GDP. But that was not the worst case. For Georgia, that was 72%. For Azerbaijan, 57%. In 1994, we have had first economic growth among Soviet republics, 6.9%. The first economic growth in Georgia was just in 1996. In Russia, 1997, a little bit, and then they had a decline in 1998 and starting permanent economic growth 1999. And you know, if we can summarize that, the only reason of our success was, despite the war, despite the situation, despite the shortage of resources, we decided to decentralize the economic management, the economic system. Like this, we invite everybody, every farmers, please come and work. We don't have a diesel oil to give you. We don't have pesticides, and so on and so on. You will be the pesticide. You have to work for that. And that works. This program of reforms worked out. We survived the country. When President appoints me as a Prime Minister, first of all, that was 1991, and then 1993 to 1996, he said, could you continue to keep alive the government 1 year? I said, but why 1 year? He said, you know, in this case, we will succeed the term of the First Republic from 1918 to 1920. And we are we are surviving still, and I hope we are going to be successful at the end. But now, I would like to look to the future. What future will bring us? I would like to invite you to have a global view on the future. What is going to happen with world economy? Do we have tools, instruments to fight the coming challenges? That's the issue for today's lecture. Starting from 2008, in 2008, having this economic crisis, which we used to call as a financial one, I started to think that, look, in the economy in the world, everything is going to be changed. I started to realize that all these macroeconomic principles, in fact, are wrong. They are not working. I'm going to show that. And I started to think, why? Where is the reason? This is the average, well, I will start here. This is the average tariff of goods and services in the world trade. You know, as you see, there was a tremendous decrease generally. When we decrease the tariffs in front of commodities and in front of goods, we have to understand we create a global market for the goods. And the question mark is, we create global market for the goods. Do we create a global market for resources? Goods, things like Mercedes or things like iPhone, etc., they're moving they're in a freedom, in a very free space. You cannot create barriers against them, but it is the case for resources. Are you creating barriers against resources? Against movement of resources? That's the question. Now, let's have a look to the resources. The main resource in this world is its labor. It is manpower. Are we creating, well, and you see that how the population of a world's population is growing up. And the problem here is that I conventionally divided the world between several types of civilizations, Christian, Muslim, Far East, etc. And I started to realize that the distribution of land, resources, capital is not relevant to the distribution of the world's population. When we remove barrier against tariffs, we should understand that the movement, migration will come. Or we create a job going to Tanzania, constructing a factory, saying that, guys, you are going to have a good life, like we have, by example, in Europe. Or they will come to us saying that, do I have a right to participate in the production processes in your country? That's natural. That's human. The world couldn't be global for goods and services. And it couldn't be not global for resources. What do you want? Are you surprised? Viewing these migrant streams into the Europe? Not. You shouldn't be surprised. They are human beings, you know? And then what happened? Well, we have scarcity of resources. It is clear that gold or oil, things like this, yet we have one globe. We have no more than this globe. Each year we are using 0.7% of those resources. And resources are getting down and population is increasing tremendously. That's create a problem. Where is your solution? Which economic law describes this problem, and which economic law shows the ways out from the situation? Another remark. Today, the only figure which we can observe relevancy, this is the education. You have educated people everywhere. By example, in Jordan today, we have per 10,000 inhabitants, more students than, by example, in Germany. And they're educated. Maybe this education is not very best one, but they're educated. In Africa, you have 4 countries, just 4, where the literacy rate is below 50%. This is South Sudan, 27%. This is Guinea, not Guinea-Bissau, the other one, 28%. This is Mali, 39%. And this is Niger, not Nigeria, Niger, 45%. All other countries, even in Africa, are around 80-90% literacy. They have literacy rate like this. Now, if you have by example, if you are a citizen of Armenia, of Tanzania, and you are educated, it's not bad education you are getting here in this university. Would you sit at your home to wait for the happy future, or you will go to this future? You will try to find yourself this future. Don't be surprised that Armenians are now everywhere except Armenia. You know, this is the case. This is the model. This was the challenge of the country. What we did to solve the challenge. If we are clever, we would have to think that the problem is coming, and that we will still suffer this problem. And where is the solution of this problem? The solution is to say empty Armenia. By example, I don't want. And how to overcome the problem? How to become happy in your own country? And this shows that, by example, countries like this, Ukraine, Latvia, Estonia, 100% high education. They have more than 700 students per 10,000 inhabitants. What they do, these Latvian guys and girls, they are, well, you can see they're in Stockholm. Ukraine is, you have 3.7 million Ukrainians right now in Poland, more than 1 million in Czech, etc., etc. And it's natural. It's natural. They have education. They can do good qualified job, and they are going to leave this country. The question mark is if they will come one day back. Nobody knows. Like this, we see changes in the world. You see the foreign-born population in the European countries. You see population growth in France. Half of this population growth right now is connected with the Arabs from Algeria, Tunisia, etc., etc. And we understand that in 50 years from now, we will see another France. That will be another totally. You cannot do anything here. The only solution is to go to Algeria. You say, guys, stay here. I am going to build a factory. I am going to employ you efficiently here. And you are going to have a good life here. But we cut up. We don't allow that. And I will show you why. And that's why I decided, well, and this is the specific way of Christian and one thing is clear. As far as we have a population growth, we cannot have a population growth in one part of the world. We cannot have a free land on the other part of the world, by example in Russia or Canada. And we cannot have a capital in the other part of the world, and at least we cannot have an innovation just in Japan or South Korea. This is not the world. There should be exchange between these resources. Innovation, capital, people, land, they have to find each other. In this case, you have an efficient economy. Otherwise, there couldn't be any equilibrium point in the economic system. And the absence of this equilibrium point creates problems. You see this equitation. It should be that the marginal product, marginal efficiency of resources, they should be equal. Otherwise, you will have streams of migrants, streams of transfers that was presented yesterday, streams of capital movement, etc., etc. So that is why. Look to this table. In Turkmenistan, in order to produce a GDP for $1, they are spending $1 gas. In Switzerland, from this $1, they are making $11 GDP. So this is the time to go to the Turkmenistan, to ask them, to beg them that stop to do it. We are going to produce that in Switzerland. It is more efficient for human being, for the global world. This is the right step to do? This is the question. And this is a huge question. And well, there are also some misses. We don't agree that how GDP is measured. In GDP, you have elements, and it's Simon Kuznets or Richard Stone, they created 100 years ago GDP figure. Well, we have to understand, it's not forever, it's not for eternity. When you include in GDP, for example, amortization or some other costs, you can artificially increase your GDP. That's another problem. I will come back on it very soon. Labor demand. This is the macroeconomic curve. In the point of E.0, you have labor demand point. You have equilibrium point. Yeah? Everybody knows. Does it work? Does it work, by example, right now in Germany? No. You have a German worker working for Volkswagen. My friend Gerhard Proterius, he's head officer in Volkswagen, said just recently, because Volkswagen now is transforming all the production capacities into the Eastern Europe. And he explained me why they are doing that. You know? And he started to say that it's not the case. This is the case. There are two equilibrium points. One for German-born population or citizens, or the other one is for refugees, for migrants. And these migrants are already 15-20% of labor force. You have 2 points. Could you go into a German university and say, I'm going today, dear students, to explain you how a labor force or demand to the labor force should be equilibrated in your country, and show the previous Kreuz? No, it doesn't work. Why we do it? Another issue. We used to say that all the macroeconomics, economics generally, including microeconomics and macroeconomics, are based on the real economy. We used to call it that we have a real economy and we have a not real economy, or financial sector. Look to what happened during last 50 years. In the United States, the profit earned by financial corporation is 2 times higher than the real sector. And we still used to continue to say this financial sector created to serve the real sector. It is right. Do we have a right to say so? No. A financial sector creates its own product. It's not just to assist the material or the real sector. And we have to take into consideration that. Manufacturing employment, and as you see that manufacturing value added, everything goes down, and the economy changed, it's safe. But here there is an interesting issue. I took the aggregate demand curve in the macroeconomics. Yeah, you have this aggregate demand curve. Price is increasing, is decreasing. No, it's not the case in the modern world. Very often, price goes up, and you can see that there is an increase on demand. Especially connected with the modern products. Moreover, according to our judgment, in mega economy, the demand curve is concave. You see, it is not like this. It is like this, concave. And the reason for that is that mathematically it presents some logarithms, parabola, is differentiable, the same like in macroeconomics, but it has a polysemy. It has polysemy. I can describe you the curve of oil. The curve of oil last 10 years was like this, the yellow one. And this is not a macroeconomy. We have to understand that. We cannot continue to lie to our students, the guys. Well, to come to the auditorium and say that I'm going to tell you what is aggregate demand curve in macroeconomics. Based on that, I started to think that this science we can call mega economy. Well, as usually when we are saying something mega, we understand that there is something big. But we have a global world. In the global world, we don't have a macroeconomics. Mega economies powerfully is getting deeper and deeper. Let's take the very famous Lorentz curve. We have it on the left side. This is the Lorentz curve, but this is the modern Lorentz curve, because there is a problem. If you have a global world, how we can judge? By example, how we can implement in the global world Gini coefficient, considering this global world as one unit? What we can call the situation when a poor people in a rich country is richer than a rich person in a poor country? That should be, we have to understand, we have to explain that, what it means. If there is an understanding of the problem, we can explain very easily why we have such a huge amount of migration. Half of people born in one country, in country A, will die in country B. And these are going to show us in 20, 30 years from now, tremendous changes, ethnically, social, and political changes in the world. One of our students, I asked him to do that. I asked to do the curve, the Lorentz curve for the world. And at the end, he came to the conclusion that really, we had 140 countries, yes? And we came to the conclusion that really, in 32 countries, developed countries, poor people were much more better, had much more better living standard than rich people in the poor countries. The same is connected with the theory of Leon Walras on the coefficients of the equilibrium point. One could say that when we are considering world as one unit, we are not going to see these permanent Walras permanent coefficients. The same is with the Pareto efficiency, where it says that you cannot change the situation in the economy because always you are going to get worse situation than you had before. And it is not again the case. So every principle in the macroeconomics doesn't work in the global economy. And I'm going to show that in more details. In the context of globalization, at least one of the factors, resources of the economy, is able qualitatively to change conditions of economic equilibrium. So the world is going to be changed. The world is not going to remain in the frame of a global world for goods and services. It should be also a global world for resources. And we are going to see the movement, this migration of resources, including labor resources. And nobody could stop it. And another thing, well, usually, I used to work for the IMF. I appreciate what they do, but the model is one, unique. We are explaining that in the macroeconomics. But there is another problem. We have 4 types of civilizations. 4 types of civilization. Why I'm showing that, but I took 4 things: state, social institutions, religion, and freedom of individual. How these problems are solved in different countries, in different parts of the world. Armenia, by the way, this is what you were considering Armenia as a European country. Now we will see what is Armenia. We will see what is Armenia. So, in Far East, this is China, Japan, South Korea. Okay, they don't in agreement each other. You know, they have a lot of problems, but they have one thing: they don't care what is religion. These countries, they don't care what is state, or they don't care the interest of an individual. They persist in the management on the social, what you used to domination of social institutions. This is the most important for them. Of course, it doesn't mean that they forget about the state. No. But have you been in a Korean or Chinese company? This is an employment for eternity. You are employed, you never fired. When in Korea, in Seoul, you ask, okay, but if somebody made a mistake, you don't fire him? No, never. They don't understand. They cannot work worse. They cannot, everything they do according their own capability. This is the society. Well, by example, in Armenia, if you have a department, 9 people are working very well, the last one, the 10th one, he is not working very well. If you don't remove him, in 1 month, everybody will work like this last one. It's not the case for China. It's not the case for Korea. The mentality is different. Another issue is the religion. We have Islamic economic world, even Islamic banking, Islamic trade, where the religion is the most important. When the religion is most important, this is very important for Armenians also. When the religion is most important, that means that tradition is in advanced versus with law. This is the society of tradition. This is the society of Sharia. You cannot change those societies changing the laws. This is a problem. And I'm asking you, in our everyday life, what we see, Armenia is a country of law or Armenia is a country of tradition? Tradition. I interviewed a lot of people here. It's a country of tradition. Like this is Islamic country. This is a domination of tradition. Even our church, being first Christian church, the behavior of our church is Islamic. Don't touch me. I'm absolute. Don't judge me. That shows that we are in a very bad conditions. The other one, Orthodox. In Orthodox countries like Russia, the most important is state. They will do everything to protect the state. All interest of individuals, institutions, religion should be used for the powerness of the state, to reinforce all the time the state. We used to say that you have a market economy in Russia. No, we don't have a market economy in Russia. We have economy which is acceptable for the state. Because these states, especially Russia, they used to think that we are big and we have to survive. In order to survive, we have to have a very powerful state. State able to squeeze any type of individuals, religion, etc. And you know, in Russia, by example, the head of Orthodox Church, in fact, starting for Peter the Great, is appointed by the state. No more than that. And at least you have Western societies, Western civilization. Traditionally, these civilizations are in front of them. The first priority is an individual right. They are trying to remain in this frame, but they have disadvantage how to deal with first three other civilizations. How to deal with Far East. They are losing. For time being, they are losers. What we have in today's world with North Korea, with the United States, is clear. It is a fight to not allow to China to come closer to the United States. China is going to be, in 5 or 6 years, economy number 1 in the world. And they have to do something. But they are suffering with these values. And we will see which countries are advanced in the sense of changing these values. The other issue for mega macroeconomy, well, I think that we need mega macroeconomic policy. Usually, by example, IMF used to say that, guys, you should do that. You should cut budget deficit. They came, by example, in Ukraine in 2015, and say to Yatsenyuk and Yareska, Minister of Finance, you have a budget deficit 22% to the GDP. Let's cut it up to the 2%. And I was astonished, saying that you cut the demand, and they cut that. They have got 15% decrease. They have increased the refinancing rate of the Central Bank of Ukraine up to the 30%, and they have got 16% inflation. And that was IMF was doing in the country. And we were there, I was there, also invited. I was saying that, guys, what you are doing here? Because they have one scheme. They don't have instruments. And what happened with the country, within 2 years, they reduced GDP from $190 billion, which was a very small amount, to $90 billion in Ukraine. Could you imagine that? And this we used to call, these are reforms. These are democracy. This is democracy. It has nothing to do with the democracy. It has nothing to do with the democracy. Well, sometimes when we don't know something, we used to say, I am Democrat. You don't know this question. You have to say, sorry, I don't know, pardon. But you say that, I am Democrat, sorry. It doesn't work. The other issue is a fiscal policy. Here, there is a big problem. The GDP, the deficit of the United Kingdom or the United States is something like 8-9%. Our deficit is no more than 3%. But, all the time is we are going to the United States or the European Bank saying that give us money, give a little bit low in order to maintain our infrastructure or to construct something. But it's a very interesting thing. In the world, we have 193 countries, members of the United Nations. only 4 countries have budget profits. 189, they have a budget deficit. In macroeconomics, the logic says the sum of the budget profits should be equal to the sum of the budget deficit in the world. It's not the case. You know, here we have a minus $9.5 trillion budget deficit. Or macroeconomics says all type of imports should be equal to the all type of exports. Again, not the case. Because yesterday we were considering here the transfers, migration from Armenia, etc., etc. This is an export of labor force. Transfers are payment for those exports. You know, when you are included that, you see that exports are not equal to the imports. And we still continue to teach our students macroeconomic principles. That should be changed. We have to be honest with them. This is liquidity, money liquidity curve in the macroeconomics. The percentage on money growing up, the demand should be reduced. No, it doesn't matter, you know. The percentage could go up, and well, even we are begging Euro Libor today are minus, you know. We are begging, take money, do something. Why? Why? Because the market of goods and services have been globalized. But the financial system was nationalized. The role of the dollar, for example, now is 64% in the world financing system. Despite that the US economies, US GDP decreases last 50 years from 40% to 22% of GDP of the world. We go to the United States saying that, guys, we need to do something financial operation, and we need to use your dollars. Even when we are having a trade with Russia. Well, an interesting, very interesting issue. Russia created Eurasian Economic Union. In this Eurasian Economic Union, well, we are importing gas from Russia. When we are saying to Russia, okay, do we have a right to pay in rubles? The answer is no, dollars. But there is a reaction. We are not so stupid. We are saying that, okay, in order to have these dollars, we have to deal with the other countries to be paid in dollars. Why in this case, and why then you created this Eurasian Economic Union? Are you self-killer or are you what? You know, and this is a clear question of that without any answer. And what did United States? United States, they were very clever. It was a real story, 1980, when Reagan came into his presidential office, inviting everybody. On that time, Japanese decided to buy the very famous building in New York, Pan Am. There was a huge aviation company, Pan Am. And, well, America was in stress. You don't know, you have to know what it means for America's Pan Am building, like Rockefeller Center, you know. And he asked everybody what to do with this situation. By example, Milton Friedman, very famous economist, he used to say, you know, Mr. President, this Japanese guy, they are so small and they are very flexible in order to go to make more qualified cars. But there was one person there, very clever one. On that time, Paul Volcker was head of the Federal Reserve System, but Alan Greenspan was there. And he said, we have to create bonds, special bonds, with a high percentage. In this case, Mr. President, all money earned by Japanese here in America, they will buy these bonds. They won't take out this money from United States. Reagan was an artist, but he was clever enough to ask, guy, and what is your proposal when the time will come and Japanese people will ask to pay this money back? And Alan Greenspan gave the most famous expression in the economic expression for 20th century. He said, we will print new bonds. You see what happened. Now what happened with dollar? America doesn't care, or Europe, they doesn't care what is the trade balance. They know that they created these tools of bonds. Whatever it is plus or it is minus, the money will remain in their countries. I would like to show you the balance sheet of the this is very serious, very interesting issue. You know the evolution of the monetary system in the world. First of all, that was a European Monetary Union. Then we had the English pound, and then after the English pound, it went to the US dollars, and then they stopped the gold standard, and then we had the Jamaica Conference, etc., etc. Now we came into the point, we have just dollar, nothing behind that, and the balance of Federal Reserve System is very interesting one. Well, as liabilities, they have outstanding papers of Federal Reserve System, this is dollars, and on the assets, they had bonds and securities of the US government, and this is the balance sheet of 1989, and the other one is a balance sheet for 2010. And the question mark here is, what type of central bank it is? Armenian central bank balance is that we have money on the as a liability, and we have currency reserves of gold reserves on the right side. The same is with Russian central bank or Czech central bank, but not the case for American. Usually, in this new system, where you don't have a gold standards connected with gold, you should have the following system. In the Armenian central bank, we should have as a reserve money proportionally of countries with whom we are trading, and the same should be with the American Federal Reserve. It's not the case. In American Federal Reserve System, in the balance sheet of central bank, you have dollar on the right and you have dollar on the left. And after that, if you want to use dollars, you have to pay for that. The same, we have 19 currencies like that, especially yen. Well, because when we were considering the relativeness to M1 plus M2 to the GDP, we discovered that in Japan, that's 8 times higher than in Russia. 8 times. Only after that, I started to understand why Japan has 300% of the internal debt, and nobody wanted to speak about it. Everybody's attention is to the Greece, 100%. Oh, Greece, you have to be punished, what you did. But what about Japan, 300%? This is just the internal state debt. What about the total debt? What about the total debt of United Kingdom, 530%? Total debt, including households debt. Why they did it? Why they started to intensively to monetize the system, the economic system, to hit economic system with the money? Because they started very interesting policy, which you see everywhere, the share of dollar is increasing up. American economy is growing up 2%, Chinese economy 7%, but the share of dollar, even in operation of Chinese companies, is still rising up. But don't think that Chinese people are stupid. I'm going to say you a couple of words about China. What happened? Increasing monetization of economy. These countries like United States, Japan, or United Kingdom, they are exporting their problems. They are exporting to us their debt. They are exporting to us the inflation. Crisis in the world's economy, last crisis, happened because of these crazy things. When after Paul Volcker, Alan Greenspan came to the power with Larry Summers, former Minister of Finance of the United States, they created this system. So they said, we stop the system when we have a lender or borrower. We create this system when borrowers when borrowers receive money not from the lender directly, but from the investor. And they said that we stop the circulation of Glass-Steagall's law, the best law in the 20th century in the economic history, 1933, the law of Siegel and Glass. Thanks to this law, Roosevelt succeeded to stop the economic crisis of 1929. And they implemented the new changes in the law, Bliley, Leach, and thanks God, Obama stopped this law in 2010 by the Frank-Dodd's law, and now Trump again removed. Obama bring back Paul Volcker's team, And now the Alan Greenspin's team is coming back in the United States, in order. But why? Why it's coming back? Because they said, why? We are Americans. We have dollar. You don't have dollar. And we are going to use this dollar for our, to increase economic growth in America, but mainly to decrease economic growth in your country. This is so clear, so obvious. Well, another problem of this globalization is this creation of regional unions. Well, I'm not in favor, whatever it is European Union or it is Eurasian Economic Union, just have these figures after creating Eurasian Union. Don't believe that there is a success, nothing. Everything went down. Everything went down. This is the trade figures. This is GDP growth for Russia, for Armenia, etc. You see that half of the trade. Well, they used to say, that, by example, thanks to this union, Armenian trade with Russia increased this year 20%, but Armenian trade with the other countries decreased 60%. There was a just substitution of the partners, and that was a negative substitution of the partners, And that's obvious. Nobody could say that, it's emotion or it's politics, nothing like this. So, coming to the end to my presentation, I would like to say that, by example, an interesting issue, trilemma is allowed. Macroeconomists used to say it is impossible to have in one country low inflation, stable exchange rate, and positive trade saldo, trade balance. This is impossible. This is trilemma. You can have two of them, but never you can have three of them simultaneously. But you can have. You like example? Sweden. Another example, by example, not permanently, could be Czech. You have this example. This is possible. In mega economy is possible. That's why I would like to bring your attention to another point, budget deficit, Well, does it make sense to have a financial discipline when everybody, especially countries like, on average, in European Union, United States, or the United Kingdom, they're violating the principle. But still they don't have inflation. Why they don't have inflation? They have a 9% budget deficit, but they don't have inflation. Why? Because they're exporting this inflation. Because we are depending. Because our measurement of our economy is in these currencies. And I don't like when nowadays people used to say, tomorrow we will create another currency for Eurasian Union. I don't believe that. I don't expect anything good here. Don't follow up these things. This is wrong. This is spoiling. This is stopping world economic growth. We have to grow up. We have to have a faster, higher terms of economic growth in all over the world. This is the only way to employ women in these countries like Africa, Arabic countries, and this is the only way to decrease the growth ratio of a population in the world. This is what were main ideas connected with this mega economy. Thank you for your attention, and I'm sorry that the issue is a little bit complicated, but I started to present that in my way. Well, but please think about that, and especially lecturers who are specialized on macroeconomics, they have to think about that. It is right to go to the auditorium to tell stories which in fact not relevant to the reality. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Prime Minister. This is very important. I will make three very short comments, and then we'll have a shorter than expected discussion with the students, but I do insist on having some discussion with the students. The first comment is that I disagree with the Prime Minister on the assumption of limited resources. You have infinite resources in you. As a young generation, you can do anything. Your resources are infinite. Also, I feel that I do quite a bit of research on the field of energy. Everyone is so preoccupied with limited resources. We have in 1 day of sunshine more energy than we need for the entire world for almost 3 months. So we have plenty of resources. We just need to use them more carefully. And just like the Prime Minister there, I really want to second the Prime Minister. Just like the Prime Minister pointed out, we just need to be truthful to our students, because these old models don't work anymore, because precisely like the Prime Minister presented so eloquently, the curves are backward. You cannot print a curve like that when the curve goes the other way around. You cannot talk about poor and rich when the rich of one country are incredibly poor in any other country. You have to start looking where people are. I do a lot of work on everyone that is in the middle. We've been discussing the poor and the rich all the time, but we have forgotten the middle. We're not paying attention. You are the middle. Any economy depends on the middle, and we are not paying any attention. We know that a lot of money goes to the rich. We know that the poor have nothing to eat. But we are not paying attention to the main engine of any economy, the middle. So, just 3 very short remarks I do want to open. Please raise your hands, try and be brief. We don't have as much time as I wish we had. Please raise your hand, make a comment, make a question, but make it short. Please.
My name is Ruben and I'm a PhD student at Russian-Armenian University. My question comes to the remark that Professor Bagratyan gave about the France and Algeria. So there is obvious that something needs to be between the developing and developed countries. So is it that the developed countries need to go and help with the foreign aid the poor countries to help them develop and bring the level of the level of life close to the developed countries, or is the channel of foreign direct investments or the channel of financial institutions that need to bring these countries like Algeria and other developing countries closer to the developed world?
Look, this is a very complicated question. This is a complicated question. I cannot answer you what is Islam. I have some ideas, but not the time to share with you. It's very interesting. It's not only religion. I do believe that it's not only religion. It was created in 8th century, when Muhammad has an experience of Christianity. A lot of countries are suffering with that. But I do believe generally, yes, if we are a global world, or Algerians will come to France, all French capital has to go and to share its advantages in Algeria. We have to employ Algerian women. For example, in the modern Kurdistan, in order to be competitive, there is a rule: 8 kids per woman. You understand what it means? You understand that in Tanzania or in Nigeria or in Bangladesh, not China. What is China? China is okay, there is no population growth. Bangladesh, 200 million people, 150,000 square kilometers. What you are going to do with Bangladesh? You have to employ them there, or they will go. Bangladeshi people are in Kuwait, in UAE, Dubai, in Europe. These are human beings. By the way, these are Bengali peoples and they are not stupid. Genetically, they are not stupid. People, in fact, are the same everywhere. And I can, well, and you can, I see what they were doing, how they were managing. I know something about this country, And I cannot say that, okay, we are going to have a good life in Armenia, but you stay in Bangladesh with floodings, with everything, there is nothing. And, but his reaction is, but I am human being. You know, guy, he says, if I will have your university degree, I'm going to show you that I'm much more better than you. And this is the solution. One of the solutions is a capital movement. By example, what did Trump recently? Well, asking that to make America great again. But versus with whom? Why you wanted to be very great? Could you imagine the situation that Armenia has a per capita GDP $40,000, Georgia $4,000? In this case, Georgian people are going to come to Armenia to occupy this country, or the same will happen with Turkish or Azeri population. My idea is, it should be some rational equilibrium. It doesn't mean equalize everybody, because you will lose competition between nations. But it means do something. Do not create a horrible situation when the migration of war are the only solution of the situation. And nowadays, in the world, right now, we have 32 wars. Right now. It's not a game. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your enthusiasm. We are looking at a possible such equilibrium in our work, and we'll pursue it here as everywhere else we go. And that is to answer your question, instead of, as a general rule, transfers don't work very well. So what you can do is develop local engines of growth. And that also helps the equilibrium problem that the Prime Minister pointed out to. If you create these transfers and let the poor live off the reach of France, the poor of Algeria living off the reach of France, eventually you'll have war. But if you find ways to make the poor of Algeria, probably with French technology, a little richer, then everybody stays put. And we get an equilibrium. So into this global economy, we have to begin to put some local elements of growth and of prosperity. Any other question? Please. Go ahead.
My name is Arman and I'm a PhD student too. First of all, Mr. Bagration, I want to thank you for your very interesting presentation. And I want to ask you about Armenia and about Armenia in mega economic scope. I want to know what is our way, finally, what is our way as a traditional country, traditional economy, and I want to know your opinion about our opportunities and please mention them. Thank you.
Very shortly, I like the wording, Armen's wording, you know. He says that we have to be representative of the West in the East, and we have to be representative of the East in the West. We are at the frontier of the civilization. I do believe that our macroeconomic policy, our foreign policy, should be based on those values. We are at the borders. We have to respect that. I do believe that if it is not possible geographically, but culturally, we have to be crossroad. Now we are terminus, like in railway station, you know, we are terminus. We are cultural terminus. We remind like with our values. We say our religion is good, our language is good, our behavior is good, our democracy is good. No. It doesn't work. Stop it. And I do believe that this is the right strategy. As far as concrete steps, well, we can talk on the macroeconomic policy, what should be changed, etc., but this is another issue. The philosophy should be, we have to be useful. Before being useful to us, to ourselves, we have to be useful to our neighbors in order to get back they prefer to us. This is what we don't have as a nation. We used to judge the values, judging the quality of the values, without measuring one value by the other values, to consider the issue in relativeness. And that's if we have to like our neighbors, even if we have a war with them, we have to like them. This is the only strategy, winning strategy for the future. Thank you.
When I was your age, Israel was about 20 years old, independent. And now Armenia is it's renewed independence, about 20 years old. And one of the assets that you have here that you shouldn't underestimate is enthusiasm. You know, there's a lot of power, a lot of energy in enthusiasm. Prime Minister talked about the United States. They're losing it because they're not up to the energy level that you need to deal with the type of issues that we need to deal with. And yesterday, a man in a private conversation suggested that the same notion that you are kind of the center of the world. You know, if you feel like you're kind of the center of the world and you have the enthusiasm that you do, then the sky is the limit. Then nothing can stop you. We can take one more question, please.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation, Mr. Bagration. I have a question referring to the case that you brought of Ukraine, Latvia, and Estonia, that they are the countries with a high level of education, high level of educated people, and there is a high migration to the bordering countries, and it's a natural process. I'd like to bring the other case and to hear your opinion on this. In Hungary, which is another country with very high level of educated people, with a very high level of unemployment and the public debt, people don't leave. There is very low migration in Hungary. Though they have all the resources, all the possibilities, they are part of the EU. And at the same time, another country, Finland, which shares the same common history with Hungary, they belong to the same Hurrito-Finn roots. It's much more developed than Hungary. It has very good educational system. But at the same time, there is huge migration from Finland to other countries. So I'd like to hear your opinion on this discrepancy. How would you explain it in terms of your theory of mega-economics? Thank you.
Generally, you can have a migration. When we are talking on the migration issue in Ukraine, even in Latvia, it's not so big like in Armenia, by the way. By the way, I know figures and I know something on that. I don't know anything on Hungary, except that Viktor Orban created very conservative government, etc., etc. You know, of course, you have to migrate a little bit. Then you have to bring some culture to your country. But probably there is a limit for that. The day is coming when you see that you lost your intellectual potential. Who is migrating? Who is able to do something? That here is the question mark. Here is the limit. As far as Hungary concerned, as a nation, I don't know. They used to be Hungarian people used to be conservative, you know. Maybe they thinking the way, the methods, etc., etc. I realized in Hungary that, you know, it is, you know, I would say this is the problem of a land-located country. This is a problem of a little bit, there is an approximation with Serbia also. Yes, in Finland, nowadays we see these huge developments, but why you are taking Finland? Take Sweden. That was a catastrophe 100 years ago in Sweden. The mashups of migration were higher than in Armenia now. But they were able to solve it. They were able to create justice in the Sweden. And now you see that vice versa. Well,
we have a delegation from Mints University of Sweden, so we have to greet them because this was a legendary.
Yeah. What is going in Armenia? But we are losing 40,000 people each year. We have 25,000 newborn babies and 40,000. Yesterday figures, there was a problem there showing that we had in 92 we had a big negative migration because you don't consider that refugees coming into the Armenia from Azerbaijan. That's another question. But what I'm worried, we are going to lose control here.
Just to the delegate from Finland would like to address.
Actually, there are different answers to your question. First of all, historically there has been one big wave of immigration from Finland, and that was in 60s, when we were an agricultural country until that, and it changed totally, and perhaps 400,000 people moved to Sweden, not very far away. We are conservative people in the north. After that, there hasn't been, actually, I don't know where you have these figures. Perhaps part of today's immigration is, I don't know if it's good or bad, but our pensioners are moving to Spain because it is warm there. And of course youth. But youngsters immigration is normal. It's one of the best things you should have. You have to go to study different countries. You have to move. You have to people. They are we have a very developed startup business, and in startup business, people are moving to Finland. So there are two ways of movements among young people. So there's no so big difference between Hungary and Finland, I guess.
This is what is so interesting about these questions, and this is why you really need to go places and look carefully at the data and not reduce everything to two variables, GDP and growth, and they don't tell, as the Prime Minister explained so eloquently, they don't tell the real story. In Sweden, they have worked a wonderful welfare system that have kept the middle class and the youngsters at home for a long time. But they are experiencing a huge growth in asset inequality that leaves the youngsters to wonder whether they can actually reach the asset level. So they may want to migrate, So these are complicated issues. Another issue is language. Hungarians and Japanese find it very difficult to migrate to other countries. And it's just a language barrier that they have to overcome. So it's a very complicated question, but again, a lot of the more significant answers lie in the local economy and how it produces, just like the case of Finland, how it moves from agriculture to high-tech. And as Mr. Sepos explained, when you get, like in Israel, into an industry that is high-tech and startup, people start moving really fast in a lot of different places. But then, you have to remember one of the most illustrated and highly regarded Israeli politician, Amnon Rubinstein, once was asked this question: what are we going to do about all these youngsters that are leaving? He says, why are you worrying about it so much? Give them your blessing and keep doing what you are doing so well here. If they can immigrate, as Seppo explained, that means that they can immigrate, which is actually already an achievement, okay? We have too many populations that are stuck where they are because they have not gotten the education and the basic skills that they need, okay? And once you have a university like you have here that gives this education, then people will come back. I myself am an immigrant. I actually hold a world record on changing permanent address, okay? You can check me, 28 times, okay? I'm back in Tel Aviv and happy to be there, okay? Because Tel Aviv University is a great university, and I spent 20 years in the United States, and they gave me a great opportunity to come back. That's the way you need to work it out. Give them great opportunities to come back, and don't worry too much that you have given them the skills to migrate elsewhere. We have to go to lunch. We thank you very much. Thank you. Worries, and without further ado, I'd like to ask Professor Eduard Sandoyan, former Minister of Finance of Armenia, to take the podium. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I constructed my speech at a continuation of my colleague's presentation conducted yesterday. If you remember, thus I will skip the arguments proposed before and will go on with their continuation. Let me remind you that this presentation is dedicated to the development of the Armenian economy in the past 26 years of independence. I will speak Russian and ask you to listen to the translation of my speech by my young colleagues. Ani, please. Следующее. Не останавливаясь на основных результатах анализа, представленного вчера моими коллегами, я бы хотел обратить ваше внимание, что как в Грузии, так и сегодня и вчера мы обсуждали в основном те результаты реформ и результаты, достигнутые благодаря реформам, которые мы имеем. Было высказано много позитива, много пожеланий, много ожиданий. Однако, если сделать вывод в одним предложением, я бы сказал, что есть основные так называемые индикаторы, которые говорят о том, что мы еще не достигли высокого уровня жизни, у нас нет достаточно высокого уровня экономического роста, у нас нет тех эффективных институтов регулирования институциональных условий для развития экономики и так далее. Основной болезнью наших прошедших 26 лет я считаю то, что мы под влиянием, в том числе под шоковым воздействием внутренних и внешних факторов и ограничивающих условий, занимались в первую очередь тем, что создавали институты выживания, а не институты развития. Иначе говоря, если говорить в терминологии профессора MIT, Дарона Аджемоглу, нашего соотечественника, мы все чаще воспринимали институты с экстрактивных позиций и создавали экстрактивные условия для развития вместо инклюзивных. И, наконец, я должен привести все-таки еще несколько аргументов, прежде чем перейти к основной части моего доклада, посвященного модели или же ответу на вопрос, что же делать. Потому что аналитические выкладки и результаты исследований, которые мы обсуждали вчера и сегодня, в том числе то, что мы обсуждали в Тбилиси, они в конечном итоге приводят нас к тому, что надо наконец-то ответить на вопрос, что же делать. Мой уважаемый коллега профессор Багратян представил также то видение, которое современный мир и современная экономическая наука предлагает нам. Было сказано и обосновано то, что многое из того, что нам известно из экономической теории, уже не работает, и мы просто должны найти, и тем более, что есть и опыт, новые решения, которые нас могут вывести на высокие темпы роста. Итак, несколько индикаторов. Если взглянуть на основные и наиболее проблемные факторы, ограничивающие развитие и препятствующие ведению бизнеса в Армении, по мнению The Global Competitiveness Report по состоянию на 2016 год, то мы видим, что на первом месте у нас в качестве ограничивающего фактора значится доступность к финансовым ресурсам. Забегая вперед, я скажу, что это неудивительно, потому что у нас есть как минимум 4 проблемы. Первое – это отсутствие достаточного объема длинных денег, долгосрочных финансовых ресурсов. Второе – это высокие процентные ставки, которые в последнее время, конечно же, несколько снижены, но тем не менее остаются достаточно высокими, особенно для малого и среднего бизнеса, то есть для стартового развития. Это отсутствие небанковского финансового сектора, который находится в Армении на очень низком уровне развития, а также отсутствие тех условий, которые делают возможными распознавание и оценку рисков в экономике, так как мы позже об этом поговорим, достаточно остается высоким теневой сектор экономики, что в свою очередь влияет на то, что нет мотивации к выходу на публичные рынки, и, соответственно, у нас пока не развивается рынок капитала. Если посмотреть на следующий слайд, то мы с вами заметим, что те реформы, которые произведены в Грузии, о чем мы вчера, то есть позавчера говорили в Тбилиси, они уже имеют достаточно интересный результат. Например, восприятие коррупции, как вы видите, в Грузии, в отличие от России, Казахстана, Армении, Украины, Азербайджана, практически стремится уже к нулю. Достаточно ли этого? Если для Армении и в Грузии тоже пока остаются самым значимым проблемы, связанные с доступностью финансовых ресурсов, то в Украине и в Азербайджане явно превалирует проблема коррупции. Но тем не менее, наши исследования показывают, и это достаточно интересно, что в Грузии и во многих странах, которым удалось преодолеть в основном коррупцию, не достигли еще желаемых результатов. Достаточно просто привести пример, и это мы посмотрим, что ВВП на душу населения или уровень жизни в Грузии остается пока на том же уровне, что и в Армении, хотя после 2008 года в Армении замедлились темпы экономического роста благодаря многим факторам, но все равно Грузия пока не вышла на высокий уровень жизни и на высокие темпы экономического роста. Почему? Наши исследования многолетние показывают, и есть в экономической науке также и лидеры, изучающие эти области, в том числе известный Эрнандо де Сото, который занимался транзакционными издержками, в том числе очень интересные люди, занимающиеся так называемыми неформальными практиками, например, в Кембриджском университете или в UCL есть такая молодая профессор Алена Леденева в UCL и Марина Макарчан в Кембриджском университете, которые занимаются проблемами блата, так называемое, которое даже не переводится на русский язык, а применяют именно термин блат. В итоге, когда мы рассматриваем транзакционные издержки, оказывается, что ликвидируя коррупцию, но не создавая институтов регулирования, оставляя как бы вот белые пятна, мы иногда сталкиваемся с парадоксальным результатом, когда транзакционные издержки повышаются. То есть была коррупция, были известные правила игры, это занимало какую-то часть себестоимости производства товаров и услуг, убрали коррупцию, система перестала работать. Нет институтов, не успели отрегулировать, вопрос раньше решался известным коррупционным способом, сейчас не решается вообще. И для бизнеса, особенно для малого и среднего бизнеса, во многом вот подобного рода некомплексные реформы, несистемные решения приводят к тому, что достигнутые успехи в тех или иных областях, например, в антикоррупционной области, не приводят к желаемому результату в целом по экономике, потому что не решены проблемы эффективности. Поэтому я должен сказать, что моя точка зрения, что на первом месте, если хотите, с первого по последние места, я бы поставил институты регулирования, а потом все остальное. Тем не менее, я должен сказать, что то, что я сейчас ниже скажу, я бы не говорил, видимо, допустим, год назад, и я с удовольствием хочу отметить, что в экономике Армении появились очень хорошие тенденции, радующие нас. Последний год радует, особенно с начала 2017 года, есть значительный рост потока туристов, туризм развивается, есть значительное развитие в IT-сфере, в сфере не только информационных технологий, но и прикладных сфер, где применяются информационные технологии, во многих сферах, где облегчены процедуры и улучшены условия, но тем не менее, на мой взгляд, вопрос, поставленный мной выше, остается актуальным. Итак, посмотрим на этот рисунок. Это и есть паспорт экономики Армении. Что мы здесь можем заметить? Первое, что после распада Советского Союза мы упали достаточно глубоко. Профессор Багратян сегодня упоминал уже об этом. Но мы начали расти быстрее всех, потому что раньше всех начались коренные институциональные реформы, раньше всех начали внедряться элементы рыночной экономики, и неудивительно, что мы начали расти, и экономика Армении продолжала расти вплоть до 2008 года, когда мы получили пик экономического роста, пик ВВП, который, кстати, за последние 9 лет никак не может быть превзойден. И самое главное, здесь можно заметить, даже не углубляясь в процессы, что, видимо, в 2008 году завершилась эпоха восстановительного роста. После чего уже нужна как бы новая экономика, которая предполагает наличие новых институтов и новых ресурсов. На мой взгляд, вот это недостаточно замечено во многих постсоветских странах, и вот эта вот стагнация, которую мы замечаем по ВВП за последние годы, она не будет преодолена и в этом году. По прогнозам, только в 2018 мы сможем вернуться и превзойти уровень 2008 года. Это есть серьезная проблема. Следующий слайд я бы попросил, 14-й. Значит, очень важно отметить и обратить внимание, следующее, на кумулятивный рост в некоторых странах. Я выделил несколько стран для того, чтобы представить себе, какова была ситуация в 91 и в 16 кумулятивно, и в 2009 и 2016 отдельно для некоторых стран. Речь идет о том, что после глобального финансово-экономического кризиса 2009 года в Армении установился стагнационный период, и если мы были одними из лидеров, то есть выше Армении по кумулятивному росту достиг только Азербайджан, у нас кумулятивный рост был 80,7%. Нетрудно заметить, что Грузия всего за весь период выросла всего на 17,1%, Россия 19,9%. Следовательно, вот за весь период роста, хотя здесь есть вопросы статистической методологии, это отдельный разговор. Я вижу, профессор Багратян строго посмотрел на слайд. Это отдельный разговор, в котором будет время, мы поговорим, потому что здесь есть искажения статистические, но это официальная статистика, взятая из базы данных Всемирного банка. И наоборот, если мы рассматриваем 2009-2016 годы, то мы видим, что 9,9% кумулятивного роста мы отстаем, Грузия и Казахстан лидируют. Это, на мой взгляд, вполне закономерно, и поэтому необходимо учесть, что как бы стоим такой стандартной методологии, они правильные, мы ниже посмотрим, окажется, они правильные априори, но они уже не работают в современных условиях. Ну, например, я забегая вперед скажу, что мы, например, делали исследования и выявили, что в Армении, в отличие от многих стран с переходной экономикой и многих развивающихся стран, где между валютным курсом и инфляцией существует достаточно жесткая связь и взаимообусловленность, в Армении этой связи нет. Или мы рассмотрели влияние инфляции на экономический рост, связи нет. Влияние валютного курса на экономический рост, связи нет. Это абсурд, это нонсенс, потому что в развивающихся экономиках, практически во всех, такая связь наличествует. Слайд 17 или 18? Следующий, дальше. Дальше. Вот это. Я здесь выписал показатели по паритету покупательной способности, которые сложились за последние годы с 2003 по 2016, и мы получаем достаточно интересный индикатор. Вообще-то не принято ППС рассматривать в качестве отдельного индикатора. Мы ППС рассматриваем для того, чтобы перевести показатели, как правило, в первую очередь ВВП или ВВП на душу населения, на сравниваемую основу, более или менее принятая практика. Однако паритет покупательной способности в конечном итоге, ну, если так грубо, характеризует цену жизни, стоимость жизни в той или иной стране. Вот здесь мы с вами замечаем абсурдные результаты. Если, допустим, в 2003 году в Армении ППС составлял 3,8, то есть $1 покупал в Армении на $3,8 товаров и услуг, то сейчас он составляет 2,45, хотя в 2008 он уже опустился до уровня 1,8. И первый парадокс. Сегодня в Армении 2,45, в России 2,65. Иначе говоря, Армения сегодня дороже, жизнь в Армении, чем в России. Хотя уровень жизни в России, ВВП на душу населения, до кризиса 2014 года был 4,5 выше, чем в Армении. Просто на сегодня примерно в 3,5 раза. Это говорит о том, что экономисты и люди бизнеса сразу поймут, что это говорит о том, что только по компоненту расходов, производимых внутри страны на ресурсы, на производство, на зарплату и на все остальное, транспорт и так далее, осуществляющиеся в местной валюте, они значительно выше, чем у стран-конкурентов, в данном случае в России, например, если рассмотреть российский рынок. И поэтому многие товарные группы сегодня, даже после того, что Армения заинтегрировалась в Евразийский экономический союз, они становятся неконкурентными на российском рынке по ценовому компоненту. Это и есть один из индикаторов или проявлений той политики денежно-кредитной, которую проводили в Армении, особенно в области валютного регулирования. Мы должны еще заметить следующее. Я выше сказал о том, что основные индикаторы не работают. Почему? Мы вчера, делали презентацию и показали, что основной причиной того, что на внутреннем рынке не работает рыночный формат ценообразования, и он не является производным от спроса и предложения, а там функционируют другие компоненты, в том числе из-за монополизированности рынка и высокой концентрации на тех или иных сегментах. Ну, например, если в период с 2014 по 2016 во всем мире происходили интересные процессы, связанные с подешевлением сырой нефти на международных биржевых площадках. Например, от $127 баррель бочка нефти спустилась до уровня 35-40. В Армении цена на бензин не изменялась. Она была практически константой. Если китайская, американская, европейские экономики выигрывали на том, что они экономили на горючее, на бензин, на транспортные расходы, на все прочее, то мы в этом компоненте практически проиграли. Потому что монополизированный рынок, связанный с российским рынком импорта, нефти и нефтяных продуктов, сделал ситуацию именно таким жестким. Если мы сейчас рассмотрим еще и показатели внешнего долга, то мы заметим, что в целом вот за последний период, после 2008 года, когда правительство и Центральный банк поставили перед собой задачу обеспечения стабильности, а стабильность, она штука хорошая, если она не ограничивает экономический рост. Если стабильность становится самоцелью, а я сейчас покажу слайд, где мы заметим, что армянская национальная валюта оказалась самой несравненно стабильной по сравнению со всеми валютами на постсоветском пространстве и по сравнению практически со всеми валютами на востоке Европы. Самая стабильная валюта, плюс к этому самый стабильный инфляционный фон, когда у нас за последние 15 лет трижды была допущена дефляция, и это в том случае, когда у нас происходит беспрецедентное замедление темпов экономического роста, вот эти вот индикаторы говорят о том, что реально экономика была поведена не в ту сторону. Поэтому я сначала и сказал, нам нужна была не стабильность, не выживание, а развитие, инклюзивность. Понятно, что мы... Следующий слайд. Понятно, что мы в этих условиях, когда имеем значительное сокращение притока иностранной валюты по линии, в первую очередь, прямых иностранных инвестиций и частных иностранных трансфертов, связанных во многом с Россией, мы столкнулись со стандартной ситуацией. В России уровень жизни сокращается, армянская диаспора в России сталкивается с проблемой сокращения собственных доходов, сокращаются, соответственно, частные иностранные трансферты в Армению, и, соответственно, мы сейчас увидим, буквально происходит прямая корреляция, сокращается импорт в Армении, потому что импортозамещение не произошло, так как вышеотмеченные институты регулирования не способствовали развитию стартапов, нового бизнеса и новых сегментов рынка, которые могли бы заместить импорт. И наоборот, произошло увеличение импорта в удельном весе и сокращение импорта в абсолютном выражении. Тем самым сокращение по всем линиям притока иностранной валюты а также активизация оттока, в том числе бегства капитала, мы получили то, что называется «свято место пусто не бывает», и именно соответственно на такой же размер был увеличен внешний долг. Соответственно, мы сегодня имеем внешний долг, если график покажи, Лида, ты отстала. Вот. Внешний долг к 2008 году у нас был доведен до уровня 16,3%. Это национальный долг, госдолг внешний. А сегодня мы поднялись на уровень уже свыше 60% к ВВП. Это результат того, что сокращение притока иностранной валюты мы заместили стабильностью. И действительно, мы достигли того, что не было необходимости увеличения бюджетных ассигнований, решения новых социальных задач, возмещения возможных убытков или сокращения доходов населения. Действительно, хорошая стабильность. И она привела к тому, что мы тем самым по принципу пружины значительно сократили потенциал экономического роста. Сегодняшнее правительство, слава богу, эти проблемы заметило. Идет бурный и достаточно активный процесс реформации и восстановления вот этих вот институциональных векторов развития. Однако, к сожалению, в некоторых аспектах мы просто опоздали, потому что за этот период, когда у нас внешний долг достиг уже 60% ВВП, вы представьте себе, если мы перейдем сейчас на свободно плавающую валюту, мы столкнемся с проблемой утяжеления внешнего долга, соответственно. Этой проблемой, допустим, 7-8 лет назад у нас не было, то есть проблема была, но не в таких масштабах. Там есть несколько слайдов по товарным потокам, таблицей. Я просто хотел бы показать, что вот в этой таблице я привел товарные группы за полугодие 2017 года. Ну, здесь плохо видно, но суть я передам. Дело в том, что у нас сейчас есть некоторая эйфория. А эйфория мне всегда не нравится, потому что радоваться, конечно, надо, но радоваться в том случае, если есть стабильные и надежные источники экономического роста. Мы имеем сегодня экономический рост, да, это заметно, и это действительно радует. Но экономический рост, опять же, обусловленный, как правило, тремя факторами. Один фактор – это новый фактор, это IT, развитие информационных технологий и вот эта сфера. Кстати, там есть компонент, он хороший, но не радующий. У нас происходит бурный рост интернет отдыха, так называемого. Да? Вот эти вот тотализаторы и так далее. Очень бурный рост, там по 200-300% роста. Люди ушли в интернет не только учиться, но и поиграть. Да? Этот рост, конечно, некачественный и неинтересный рост для экономики, а IT-сектор у нас действительно бурно растет, и есть очень серьезное внимание правительства на этот сектор. Сегодня премьер-министр в своем выступлении тоже остановился на этом вопросе, это радует. Второй фактор – это значительно беспрецедентный рост международных цен на горную металлургию, на медь, молибден и так далее. Хорошо это и плохо? Хорошо. Если где-то Рант Аратович не даст соврать, было где-то год назад медь стоила, да, $4500 за тонну, сейчас свыше 6000. То есть ничего не делая, экспортируя тот же объем, природных ресурсов, мы получаем больше по линии экспорта и радуемся, что у нас есть рост. Это, конечно, такой рост, имеющий конъюнктурный компонент. Мы знаем, что за последние несколько лет мы сталкивались с ситуацией наоборот, когда значительно сократились цены на медь на мировых рынках. Сейчас они поднялись, и связывать будущее с этим и надеяться, что все время будет рост цен, конечно, нельзя. Все остальные компоненты я выделил как раз вот те товарные группы, которые уходят на рынке, например, в России, мы увидим, что здесь нет новой экономики, да, майки, фуфайки, там, не знаю, и все прочее, продукты сельского хозяйства, даже я отдельно назову виски. Ну, видите ли, если армяне начинают производить и экспортировать виски, ну, это конечно, оригинально, но надеяться на экспорт виски и на этом строить будущее экономики, конечно, нельзя. Почему же так происходит? Если, да, еще там 2 слайда назад, я не буду комментировать, что бы это значило, наоборот, назад. Там красными линиями в таблице Лида, куда ты уходишь? Ну, вот там 2 линии, значит, томатус, виноград сушеный и так далее. Я не буду комментировать, но я просто скажу, что здесь беспрецедентные объемы появились в 2016 году экспорта таких вот товаров, похожих на то, что у нас сельское хозяйство производит. Но тем же самым занимаются в Белоруссии очень активно, воспользовавшись политикой эмбарго по отношению к российскому рынку, и на это надеяться, конечно, тоже нельзя. Таким образом, если обобщить вот эти факторы, сейчас инвестиции покажи, вот эти факторы, мы приходим к выводу, что действительно у нас есть так называемый сдержанный или задержанный потенциал экономического роста, и он связан именно с теми институтами и механизмами, которые, к моей радости, можно реализовать очень быстро, в краткосрочный период, но это требует, конечно, определенного риска и требует, конечно, определенной смены образа мышления, потому что есть золотое правило в современной экономике. Если ты пользуешься тем инструментарием, который принят по стандартам Всемирного банка, АМФ, все хорошо, все красиво, но это не соответствует реалиям в этом регионе, в этой стране, на этом рынке, то вы обязательно можете столкнуться с эффектом кобры. Да, как в экономической теории известно, как в Индии британцы уничтожали кобр, да, платили за каждую убитую кобру, и вся Индия начала разводить кобры. Вот для того, чтобы не получить эффект обратно, мы должны учитывать вот эти факторы. А когда ты учитываешь эти факторы, ты сталкиваешься еще с одной проблемой. Если мы хотим стабильности и достигаем стабильности, пользуясь механизмами и институтом денежно-кредитного регулирования, то мы сталкиваемся с серьезной проблемой. Монетарными методами решать проблемы реального сектора экономики, макроэкономические проблемы, проблемы налогово-бюджетными нельзя. Нельзя и никогда нельзя, потому что мы сами создаем пружину, которая когда-нибудь обязательно взорвется и сама, и нас вместе с собой унесет. Вот эти факторы по итогам наших исследований доказывают, что именно они явились ограничением того, что значительный потенциал экономического развития Армении, который есть, и я не буду обратно доказывать, потому что эти 2 дня мы этим и занимались, они как бы не используются. Они как будто лежат на полочке и ждут лучших времен. Вот, пожалуйста, рисунок. Это динамика прямых иностранных инвестиций. Это не гора Арарат, хотя контуры похожи, да? Это всего лишь динамика foreign direct investments. Да, мы заметили, что 2016 год немножко активизировался. К сожалению, за 2017 год мы пока радоваться не можем, потому что тенденции, сформированные в 2015-2016, как будто бы пока еще продолжаются, хотя как будто мы все на старте, и кажется, вот сейчас начнется бурный процесс, но опять же мы сталкиваемся с такими проблемами, как валютный курс, инфляционный фон, конкуренция, которая у нас очень слабо защищается и допускает монополизированность. И доктор Песов вчера возмущался, говорит, надо взять этих людей, что-то он там говорил с ними делать. Но вот это вот индикаторы, с которыми нельзя не считаться. Следующий слайд показывает, что все-таки вот эти тенденции присущи нашим всем странам. Вот Джорджия, Белоруссия, Украина, Россия, Казахстан. То есть это общая такая тенденция. Но, к сожалению, FDI в Армении, он как бы спустился на очень низкий уровень, хотя контуры, они повторяются во всех этих странах, потому что как будто бы российская экономика, она все-таки влияет на наш регион. Ну, я не буду останавливаться уже на других индикаторах, но покажу просто вот динамику обязательств банковских, где мы тоже можем с вами заметить, что у нас есть еще одна история. Так же, как и мы все, вот все наши страны, страны-тинейджеры, так называемые, научились хорошо исполнять рекомендации наших западных коллег из Валютного фонда и АМФ. Мы за 26 лет получали высокие оценки, были отличниками всегда. Да, у нас был большой период бурных экономических реформ, которые привели к нас привели к хорошим результатам, я показывал, до 2008 года. Потом реформы замедлились или приостановились, но тем не менее в результате нам не удалось завершить этот процесс. И сейчас наше правительство как бы вернулось опять к этому процессу. Я очень надеюсь, что будет успешно. Но вот один еще пример. Мы знаем, что без длинных денег не бывает современной экономики. Мы знаем, что длинных денег в природе не бывают. Они не рождаются сами по себе, и долгосрочные экономические ресурсы необходимо создавать институционально, финансовый ресурс. Одним из, основным институтом производства долгосрочных финансовых продуктов является пенсионная страховая система. Пенсионное страхование не может не заменить пенсионное обеспечение, потому что принцип солидарности поколений отныне не работает. У нас очень скоро на одного работника придется один пенсионер. И, естественно, такая экономика не выдержит уже ничто. Сегодня мы уже находимся почти на этом уровне. Один работник у нас кормит 0,8 пенсионеров. Через 1,5-2 года у нас будет один работник на одного пенсионера. Поэтому, создавая систему пенсионного страхования, мы, конечно же, должны были также создать институты долгосрочных вложений на финансовых рынках. Этого мы не сделали, и практически в итоге мы получили странную штуку. Мы вывели из экономики вновь созданные долгосрочные ресурсы, которые вместо того, чтобы работать на собственную экономику, они работают на внешние финансовые инструменты. В связи с тем, что у нас лимит времени подходит к концу, я одним предложением обобщу, что делать. 45 секунд. Значит, необходимо коренным образом модернизировать систему экономического регулирования, реализовывать рыночную политику валютного курса, рыночную систему ценообразования, не ограничивать бизнес придуманными институтами, стимулировать малый и средний бизнес, модернизировать финансовый сектор и все остальное очень простое и сложное, что приведено в слайдах. Кому будет интересно, потом я с удовольствием предоставлю. Спасибо.
It is getting a little late and we are a little short of time. It is definitely refreshing to hear again today. It is refreshing indeed to hear again the failure of old-fashioned IMF, World Bank type solutions that are kind of one solution to all that really doesn't work anywhere. And the emphasis on specific solutions, in particular, a great interest of the idea that institutions should serve something. They should work so as to help somebody. And when we construct them, and institutions really matter, we have to keep in mind who do they serve and what do they serve. And if they don't serve anything, we may as well not use them, even if the IMF or the World Bank is pushing us to do so. We will cut short the discussion because we are running out of time. I will ask Professor Alexander Khachaturian to talk. Because of the short time left, I will ask Khachaturian to be somewhat brief in his discussion so that we can conclude with some open discussion. And if you could just run through the main items of your lecture, it would be incredibly helpful. Thank you.
5 minutes. 10. All right. Thank you. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Very excited to be here. Kind of a dynamic, platform. Looking people who have been running the countries and businesses at the same time. Students who hope to replace them in the future, and myself being somewhere in the middle. I mean, a lot of challenges have been brought up, and I don't think I'm going to come back to that. I'm going to quickly talk about what I'm trying to sort of explain here. It's kind of a story. It's not a solution to all the diseases that we have identified. It's just, I see as a value statement that is going to, I hope is going to drive us in the next few years in trying to solve the problems that we have. And in fact, the complexity of today's environment is that we're living in a space where things are changing so fast. So while we're reflecting about them, they are no longer the way they are now, and you kind of need to adjust very fast, and it brings additional layer of complexity to the strategizing exercise. So it's kind of becomes very complex to strategize about something because things are changing very fast, and Prime Minister, he mentioned about some of those today, including Fourth Industrial Revolution. But the government of Armenia had a document which called Armenia Development Strategy 2014-25, very complex document, something close to 200 pages with a very in-depth analysis. But now the question was, okay, who's using it? And it quickly transferred into internal document primarily for the Ministry of Finance, who was working on the intermediate budgeting and procedures. Then in 2016 we had two unfortunate events that have kind of pushed us to revisit what we have and what are the problems. Then 17 we had elections, new parliament has been appointed, and 18 is going to be another point of time where a lot of things is going to change because the constitution is going to become effective with full force, and we're going to have a huge change there. I mean, all these 4 points, especially the last three they've triggered so many discussions and debates, both inside the country and within the country. I'm not going to get there. But we asked ourselves a question, do we actually need to revisit the strategy that we have, 2014-25? And I have to tell you, the way it was designed, it was pretty pragmatic. There was a growth model that we put. We did some, budget structuring. And based on that, we projected what's going to happen in the next 10 years. There was a claim that this document is less ambitious because it was kind of tied to the growth model that we had. And there were some parameters that we put in, and a lot of economists, they're challenging actually the viability of the document. And we quickly revisited the document, and we decided that actually we're going to change the document both in terms of what it has internally, but also in terms of size, because I've asked actually to give me the data, how many downloads we have of that document, and I don't think the statistic is going to be very promising. But we have what we have, and we wanted to try to make an attempt to build a consensus around one single sort of set of principles which are going to drive us in the next few years. And we definitely need a nation-shared vision, and when we talk about nation, it's in an Armenian reality, it's not only Armenians who live here, but also Armenians who live abroad, and then actually our diaspora outnumbers us at least twice. It has to be an inclusive process, but at the same time it has to answer of this midterm expenditure framework which we have in our budget procedure. It has to tackle the main challenges, and in fact for the past 3 months we were trying to identify what are the challenges, and that was a huge debate because everyone was looking at the challenges from their own perspective. Now the question was, okay, how to make it work? And we decided to kind of adopt an agile vision, just start moving forward, and while we're moving we'll figure out what we get. And we had a couple of facts that we took as a background for our exercises, that we're a globally living nation that has always maintained a strong sense of belonging to its cradle. Well, again, a lot of debate is there, but just to give you one fact, because of the unfortunate events in Syria, actually we have 20,000 Armenians to come back to Armenia from Syria, and I guess we're the only country who looks at these 20,000 Armenians not as a problem, unlike the other countries, but as a huge opportunity, because we're not afraid of these refugees. So for us, it's a big advantage. It's an asset that was brought to us as a result of some unfortunate things. And at the end of the day, again, we really need the shared vision, because otherwise we're not going to get there. Frankly, I don't have a solution to how sort of have this shared vision in a quicker period. Definitely the government needs to deliver for people to start believing. There are some trends that we have, but we look at them as trends, not as a result. This is the first thing that we have decided internally, that we're not going to look at this as a result. It's going to be just a trend, and we intend to keep it. The only way to get there is just to prove that we can deliver. And then we put 4 basic principles behind the whole story: is fair, secure, smart, and free. We were trying to define the whole story in one sentence, which is a very, very difficult exercise. It's not bottom to top, it's not top to bottom, it's actually going back and forth many times until you get there and stop at some point, because it's going to be an endless exercise. And to the extent that when we're talking about this vision, and you actually can wake up a person, ask him about the vision about Armenia in the morning and in the evening, and you would witness that they're talking like not radically, but a lot of different things. So you kind of need to stop and start moving. So we took a very simple sentence, which is: our vision is that Armenians are a healthy, growing, and educated global nation driven by creativity in an empowering and safe ecosystem, leaning on Armenia as a modern hub while retaining its national values and identity. Now, we had asked ourselves a couple of questions. First question was basically, who do we design this vision for? Is it only for Armenians who live in this country, or for Armenians all over the world? And in fact, for our case, it's a very, very specific question. As I said, we are very outnumbered outside. We have close to 7 million Armenians outside of the country, so you need to kind of deliver for them as well. And definitely, if you talk about Armenians from Europe and Armenians from United States and Asia and Russia, you would see that they have a completely different vision about the country. So you kind of need to get everyone together, which is practically impossible until you focus on very, very specific values. And also, the other thing is that there is now a very popular term that I like very much, is called country as a platform. And a lot of research has been done about that, and I think a number of economic theories will pop up as a result of, with working with this concept. But basically the idea is that you need to have a platform, and whoever is looking for something, they would just come and plug in. This would be, I have a very specific example. If you, for instance, go to TUMO, you would see that, when you step into that institution, you definitely see that this could have been built in any other civilized, modern capital of any other country. But the reality is that it was made in Armenia because there was an Armenian, Sem Simonyan, who had this idea, and he started, trying this in Armenia. Now, there are a number of countries and capitals that they want to have the same TUMO with them. For instance, Beirut, Paris, I know they're talking to Abu Dhabi, and even they told a couple of days ago, people from Albania, they came and they wanted to actually use the model. So now what happened? It happened that, Sem Simonyan, he looked at the country as a platform, and he had an idea, and he basically implanted this idea, realized this idea in the country. Now, I'm not going to go into details. I was ready for actually talking about each and every point, but we kind of took the values. And in fact, we were calling this vision, but at the end, we kind of came to the concept that it's not a vision, it's kind of a value statement more that is going to drive us in the whole design process. And we have 6 things under what we call FAIR. It's competitive environment and meritocracy, transparent and intolerant to corruption, equal opportunity and participation, independent, predictable and efficient judiciary, citizen-centric, entrepreneurial and accountable public administration, and healthy society. there was a debate, and the debate is going to be up and running all days. It's basically, why did you put competitive environment and meritocracy into fair, but you didn't put it in secure, etc. So there are these places, especially when we look at for instance, healthy society. Why is it fair and not secure? So we kind of, again, there was some debate, and we stopped the debate at a certain point because there is an angle that you take and you move ahead. But the fairness is foundation of Armenian state. I'm a personal believer that you need to deliver two things. It's security and fairness. As long as you have these two, Armenians will create. I mean, we have a proof for that in a number of other countries, so we just need to make this happen. Well, secure for us, it's kind of one of the key issues, and of course it means strong defense. Of course it means independent Artsakh, and of course it means human security. And by saying human security, it's not only about just delivering, justice, etc., but also about, adequate and smart use of resources, natural resources, not to waste them today, then to have a headache tomorrow, but to actually tranche it in a way that it remains for the future generations as well. Smart is I think what drives today's government the most. Is we want to actually change the process in a way that we deliver smartly, and Prime Minister's speech was about that as well. So you kind of need to be agile. Today, not all the sort of conventional solutions are easily adaptable. You need to find a solution to any issue, and again, be a little bit of opportunistic, but also, risk taker. But, I mean, definitely we talk about quality of education, knowledge-based and innovative economy, outward-facing and agile business environment, partnerships and mobility, both on the level of the countries, vis-a-vis other countries and partners, but also on the level of businesses, green and sufficient energy and modern infrastructure. Again, we want to build our economy around highly skilled, highly motivated and mobile workforce, fully connected to global networks of science and innovation. Just to give you a perspective, a number of things. I know I'm running out of time, but a couple of things that kind of disappoint me today, and we know that we need to work on them tomorrow together, I guess, is that, for instance, World Economic Forum has published a human development report a few days ago, and there's interesting statistics about Armenia. When it comes to capacity, we're number 3, basically numeric skills, reading, etc. We're number 3 in the world, but when it comes to actually our ability to use this resource in practice, we're number 114. So I guess this is an evidence that we have what we call it a divide between education and business. So clearly this generation has to be thinking more about how to actually get the skills that will bring them to work, because it's not only academia but also a lot of things that are outside of this environment. Thank you. The sooner we get there, the better. And I'm a true believer that actually, sort of professorship, with all due respect, they're not there to deliver. You have to be creative yourselves. Thank you. And finally, free. A lot of debate about strong family. Do we actually have this? But definitely we kind of cherish this concept a lot. We have preserved heritage that we want to keep going that way. It's a concept of one global nation and solidarity and unity. And I'm going to try to finish there, but the last comment again is about the perception of the strategy itself. For instance, this weekend we had a kickoff event for design of Armenian digital agenda for the next 12 years. The very idea that you need to design digital agenda for the next 12 years is kind of scary, because while you're working on a solution that you want to adapt in your government or in your business, there is a smart guy who was sitting probably in this room who designed something that is going to replace everything. So it's kind of a fully revised approach towards the strategies and how you strategize and you work. And definitely, whatever we do now in terms of we design a strategy, etc., we will have to revisit it, I guess, on annual basis, if not a half-yearly basis, depending on what the dynamics is. But we have to keep our strategies and perception based on values rather than specific actions. It's going to be up to the government and private to agree on the specific actions that we want to take based on the resources that we have. And the last thing is that we kind of want to bring a little bit of ambition into this. If we would go in a conventional way to look at our budget means and growth model, I would probably agree to just keep whatever we had, 14-25 strategy. But we kind of revisited our approach and we said, let's just focus on something that we want to do, and then we'll figure out where we get resources from. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will conclude the discussion with some remarks by one of the most experienced statesmen of Europe, especially of this region, in the last 20 or 30 years. Starting from the major reforms in the Czech Republic, President Václav Klaus, who is with us, has really transformed the Czech Republic in more ways than one, making some very interesting, controversial, and oftentimes very audacious decisions, such as the decision to allow for the split between the Czech Republic and Slovakia, which at the time was seen as a remarkably audacious decision that he has made. After that, the liberalization of the Czech economy and the creation of a neoliberal environment. And after and since his departure from power, President Václav Klaus has been an outspoken person, oftentimes expressing views that have been seen by many around as remarkably outstanding in terms of not really following the beaten path, but rather trying to be original and stick to some internal truth that he holds. So I think that after this very interesting discussion of everything we've heard here, it is most appropriate to ask the Honorable former President of the Czech Republic to make some concluding remark. Please, President.
Mr. Rector, distinguished professors, students, ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for giving me the floor. I understood that it's a punishment to be the last speaker because everyone is so tired that no one listens anymore. So I will not bother you. This is a very long speech. I prepared something for 3-4 hours, Mr. Rector, but then I decided to make it a little bit shorter. Let's say 10 minutes. Is it appropriate? You know, because it seems to me that it's not the correct way to try to present everything what I know. The appropriate way is to pick up 3-4 crucial points and to try to persuade the audience that those are the crucial and important points. So in this spirit, let me say a few words at the end. Once again, thank you very much. To make closing remarks is after such a diversified conference is a mission impossible. Is an impossible task. Definitely, I am not aiming at giving a summary. This is impossible. Perhaps I will try to make a few remarks to stress something what I found interesting, relevant, debatable, controversial. So this is my idea. No complex talk. but transition is my topic, so those 10 hours prepared, I will just skip for this moment. First, I would like to start with saying that I learned a lot, being both here and the previous 2 days in Georgia. It's for me totally different part of the world, and I must say that I was very much impressed by the presentation made by the graduate students and young professors here yesterday. So, Mr. Rector, I applaud it very much, and this shows the quality of your students, both as regards the substance, the knowledge of economics and econometrics, if I understood correctly, of all kinds of languages, and the way how to present the results of your work. So my congratulations, and as a professor of macroeconomics and comparative economic systems at Prague School of Economics, I will have to check whether my PhD students are able to do the same, but I'm afraid not. So my congratulations. Now a few remarks. I learned something here, which is one important issue, which is much different from what I see in my region in Central and Eastern Europe, Eastern in the narrow sense, let's put it that way. And this difference is for me absolutely fundamental. You speak here mostly about the moment of independence, whereas we, in our part of the world, we speak about the moment of the fall of communism. It is, and it is not the same. The difference is, in my understanding, very important, and it is, at least it's a slightly different perspective. Maybe it is more. Due to it, in my part of the world, what we stress is the systemic change as the crucial moment of the task we had to fulfill. Whereas here, I understand, Mr. Rector, your title of your presentation this morning, which was put here, was the nation building. So those are methodologically really different, slightly different things, and I think you shouldn't forget it. It's an interesting methodological issue, which I am sure some of you study quite carefully. By the way, I don't want to bother you. You have enough problems in your region, and I don't want to bother you with the problems we have in our region. And in the moment of being members of the member countries of the European Union, and trying to not to be lost in this multinational institution called European Union. Nevertheless, the term nation building invoked in me just the opposite term, because I do not live in the era of nation building. I do live in Central Europe in the era of nation losing. This is also a very important point, because the European Union in its current version, in its current incarnation, I hope there will be a better incarnation in the future. So the current EU is trying to liquidate the nation states, liquidate the nations, at least to weaken them as much as possible. So the term nation building, believe me, does not exist in my part of the world. This term almost is excluded from the lexicon or from the vocabulary. very important issue. The title of this conference was that we were talking about small transition economies. I was struck a little bit by the fact that no one raises the issue whether the term transition is an interesting term, whether it's a relevant term, or whether it's a useful term. I am afraid I find the term transition very ambivalent, or at least very ambivalently used. I am afraid that the term transition doesn't help us very much. It's a tradition to use this term. I am not sure. I am not sure that Armenia is a transition economy. Armenia is definitely a less developed economy measured by the GDP per capita as compared to some more developed countries in Europe or in America. But is it a transition economy? Again, this is something which should be discussed. Transition definitely is not the era or the period of time of catching up with the most developed countries. This is not transition. The era of catching up is the historical period. It has no connection with systemic change, with transition of the economy and society. So I warn against overusing the term transition. In our time, 25 years ago, when we made the radical transformation of the country, we understood one important term, one important concept, and we used to call it the critical mass of reform measures. I am not sure. This term is forgotten already. It's not discussed very much now. But I think there are countries where the critical mass of reform measures was introduced and was introduced relatively very rapidly. And there are countries where it has not been done. Maybe there are even countries where it has not yet started. Anywhere, I am certain that the term critical mass of reform measures is a relevant point, and I think I was expecting a discussion here this morning, this afternoon. Have we already introduced the whole critical mass of reform measures in Armenia or not? That would be for me a really relevant and revealing discussion. After being here in this country something like 28 hours, I don't dare to make any strong statements about this issue here in Armenia. But I have my doubts. If I listened very carefully, one of my predecessors this afternoon said that it is necessary, and now I will switch to his Russian. If I'm not wrong, he said it is necessary улучшить регулирование экономики. Am I right? This is for me a totally shocking term. This is the perestroika term. It was relevant 30 years ago. It is not relevant now. So I would prefer to switch to the discussion about the critical mass of transformation measures, reform measures. That would be more interesting. Улучшить регулирование экономики. Я уверен в том, что сказал товарищ Брежнев уже 50 лет тому назад, и все остальные в то же время тоже. No, I will switch to English, but please, I take it as a very important point, and please don't forget that. What now the question? What, when I discuss the transition, transformation, the critical mass of reform measures, my question is, what belongs to the critical mass of reform measures? In the economic sphere, definitely three fundamental issues: radical liberalization and deregulation of markets. I think that the crucial idea was the price and foreign trade liberalization, which I did as Minister of Finance in my country on the 1st of January 1991, already a long time ago. Then the second pillar of transition, of transformation, is definitely privatization. I heard here this morning that Professor, you mentioned that Armenia is the only country where that a radical privatization of land was done in this country. Probably, it's true. Maybe I was not listening carefully the whole day, but correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't heard one sentence mentioning the privatization of non-land privatization in Armenia. It has not been mentioned, if I listened carefully, which is for me a surprising idea, because the privatization was the crucial, substantial issue of the transformation in our part of the world. So definitely radical liberalization and deregulation, privatization, and the third point, which I found empirically fundamental, is the macroeconomic stabilization, introduction of macroeconomic balance or macroeconomic equilibrium. It was discussed here. I would dare to formulate a working hypothesis which would be interesting to test in your econometric models, in your econometric modelings. My hypothesis is that the consequences of micro changes, or the costs, in other terminology, the costs of micro changes, of liberalization and of privatization, are a function of macroeconomic situation. There is a very strong relationship in this respect, and it would be an interesting comparative study to see what's the connection between the degree of macroeconomic equilibrium and the costs of transition, the costs of transformation. And I would consider sufficient to measure quantitatively the costs of transformation using two crucial macroeconomic variables: the rate of inflation and the GDP growth and GDP level. So those two variables is the standard case in your textbooks. So to analyze the impact of all that, I must say that I see a big difference in when I started to do the economic reform it was still Czechoslovakia. My first task was starting with the micro fundamental systemic changes, but to introduce macroeconomic equilibrium. So the issue was to introduce a surplus budget before surplus state budget before opening the markets and before liberalizing liberalizing prices and foreign trade. It was a crucial precondition for success. So in my country, in 1 year only, in the year of price liberalization and foreign trade liberalization, we used to have inflation 56%. 56%. And if I listened correctly to Professor Darbinian, it was 5,000, two digits more here in Armenia, 5,300 or something like that. So I think that the macro precondition for liberalizing prices and foreign trade are absolutely crucial, which should be in textbook knowledge. So we had once 56% rate of inflation. In all other years, in the last 27 years, the rate of inflation in my country was 1 digit, which is, I'm convinced that it depends very much on the macro, both monetary and fiscal policy. So the rate of inflation in my country was never 2 digit, and in the last 10-15 years, I think that the average rate of inflation is 1%. Maybe too low. The stupid idea of inflationary targeting has economic costs, and I think it's a totally wrong method of monetary policy. So one issue is the costs measured in terms of inflation when we are among economists. Definitely the other issue is the GDP growth, and I don't know how to measure it. Nevertheless, I looked at your data you presented here, and you had one big fall in 1990. In the first years of 1990, then the second big fall in 2009. Well, I don't know whether to consider it great success or not. Nevertheless, if I'm not wrong, the GDP per capita measured, expressed in purchasing power parity here is around $9,000 a year. Am I right? And well, I must say that with all the problems and all the troubles in my country, also small transition economy in my country, the GDP per capita in PPP is more than 30,000 US dollars. So the costs of transformation and the costs of not reforming sufficiently rapidly are very high, with a large, huge impact on the living standards and on the welfare of the people. So those were my short remarks. The 10 hours version will come tomorrow. For those who want to stay here, we can continue. Thank you very much.
Thank you, President Klaus, for such an impressive conclusion of what we have been talking about during the day. I think we have tackled a lot of interesting issues, and the point is that Armenia is now much more known by the board members of Boris Mints Institute for strategic solution to global challenges. And one of the challenges we face is Armenia, as it is. And we have to overcome our problems, and we have to create a prosperous country. And I am sure on that because we have such a good new generation. This is the reason of our surviving here now under the $9,000 per capita, because this is surviving, this is not a life. You know, I have $9,000 per capita. But they are the reason of our survival, and we're happy with that, being together with them. And thanks to all speakers today. We spent a great time, I think, by listening to them, and hoping to have further conferences together with Boris Mints and his excellent team. Professor Ida Senet, thank you also, and the floor is yours.
I have been outpaced by greater ones. So just thank you so much. It was such a pleasure. We're not going anywhere. We are staying around. We will come back as we are organizing several activities, both with Institute and with Tel Aviv University. And so we have every intention to come and to come back, if only to see this wonderful young generation growing. Thank you very much.